and that'll complete that basic loop in regards to our fire alarm. Our retrofit program would just about complete. We're done with the first phase on the traffic signals. We're going to be entering the second phase in the LED program on the traffic signals. We have about 7 intersections left to swap out the incandescent lamps to the LED lamps. So we'll be doing that very shortly. It's out to bid, so we'll be working on that shortly. Marsh Hall at Salem State, as you all know, is up and running. That job is complete. A new working fire alarm system throughout the whole building. It's attached to our central station. Everything's running fine. The Ruane Judicial Center is almost complete. We should be wrapping up electrical inspections on that building somewhere in the end of July. I'd say 1st of August we should be complete with that building. That job has run very smooth. Griffin Electric has done that. They've done an outstanding job. The tradesmen have worked wonders. So we're happy to say that. And we're still working with Verizon and National Grid, transferring our fire alarm cables from the double poles to the new poles that are being installed. So we're also working with that. Hopefully, I'm keeping the pressure on as best I can in regards to getting all the double poles removed. They made substantial progress in the last few months, but with the tornado, they sent some extra utility trucks that way. National Grid played a part in that, and they were all coordinating together. So I expect them people to be back very shortly to start getting at the double poles again. So we'll see some more activity on that. The roadway on Bridge Street, as like we have the new decorative fixtures over there, and there's some controversy about the control cabinet that's a little oversized. The engineer and myself and the people at Mass Highway are addressing that. We're going to push it back a little bit. We're going to downsize the cabinet because it's an overkill. I mean, when it was engineered from their standpoint of view, they didn't realize that we didn't need all those circuits that they were trying to provide us. So once we got our heads together, we come up with a number, and we should be able to downsize it and move it to a location that's pleasing to everybody. And it's the same thing on, I believe, on Pleasant Street. I think we were looking at that, so that should be resolved too. We assisted the police department. I don't know if anybody, you guys know this, that they rehabbed their firing range. It's been out of touch, for probably like 15 years now. It hasn't been working. So we helped upgrade the firing range for them. We did some of the electrical work. We had an outside vendor come in and do the targets, and all that stuff. So we got that up to snuff to help those guys out. Last year we were talking about installing Vision 21 receivers for redundancy on our fire alarm receivers, so we can accept radio boxes. New state-of-the-art fire alarm boxes that everybody's using in different localities. So we're unique. We were able to work with a 100 mil system, and we're capable of doing radio boxes. So like if somebody has a site that they can't get to a 100 mil system, we're able to utilize the radio technology to let them still come on our system. Our system has grown. We're making money. If you look at the overtime accounts, what we pay out, what we bring in, we're in the black. So it's a good operation. So I can't say enough good things about that. And the crew and run. And basically, that's about all I have to say. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Council Freed and then Council Roman.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. John, I have a couple questions. Jim Durkin retired.
That's
He's
correct.
already gone, right?
Yes.
And you've hired someone since then?
Yes.
Okay, so that's all set in terms of
That gentleman's name is Mr. Richard Parent.
Okay.
And we did a search, Lisa and I. We went through a lot of substantial interviews to get the employee that we have. And that gentleman was second in command at Salem Hospital, facilities director, he was the assistant.
Okay.
John Keys is assistant. He's very talented in the fire alarm, and he holds a journeyman's electrician's license, which is an upgrade for us. You know, we didn't need that in the job description, but it's an added benefit to the city. And he's willing to take on the responsibility. The guy's a good man. I can't say enough about him. So we lucked out in that regard.
And he was hired as the foreman?
Yes.
In that
to
position?
replace Jay Durkin. That's
Okay.
correct.
Was he hired at the same salary,
No.
Mr. Durkin?
No.
Higher?
He was hired at step one.
Okay. Oh, that's right, because Jim was 3.
That's correct, Paul.
All right. For the electrical line item expenses, 5214 traffic signal light. I know you put in for your budget request $72,000. The administration pared it down to $50,000.
Correct.
Could you tell us about the discrepancy, you know,
Yeah.
in terms of making do with what the mayor has directed you to
Okay.
work with?
At that time, I requested the $72,000. I wasn't sure about the numbers. At that point, we haven't received the different encumbrances that the charges, the congestion charges weren't figured out and all that stuff. But after the numbers were all put together, and we sat down, Mr. Viskey and the mayor and myself, I agreed to take the cut.
Yeah.
'Cause
We're also realizing a lot of the
Right.
savings from replacing these lights with the new LED. So year to date, we have spent $46,754. We have $20,000 left in that budget, so projecting out what we're at this year, like John said, we're doing another phase of this the following year. To us, it seemed pretty reasonable that would be, the $50,000 would be a reasonable amount of money, and then that might even be further reduced in the following year. It just depends on how quickly we get the new replaced lights. But we're realizing quite a savings once we do these replacements, so.
And the last thing I had, John, was you and I have had multiple discussions about the electronic, and obviously I know Dave Knowlton's been involved with this, the electronic speed sign that's on School Street.
Correct.
That's been there for a long time, but no power goes to it because National Grid refused to do the conduit because it's on the pole.
Yes.
On their pole.
Yeah, that's
So-
a little more to the story, Counselor. What happened was, we went to Verizon, who actually has custody of all the poles. If there's any telephone wires on the poles, they do have the custody. So we went through the proper channels, we met with Verizon, Stan Yusevich was their representative, and we come out with, well, he was gonna go back to his people and try to work something out, so like a third-party agreement for the city of Salem, so that we were gonna be allowed to attach to the pole. Because I reminded him that we've got services on the poles at the Salem Common, and we've got services in different locations in the city. And all of a sudden, like, there's a couple of new players in town, and we're not able to do all this stuff that we've done in the past, you know, with a little cooperation. So what we've chosen to do is that, at this point, we have to abandon that program, okay? But it was like $1,200 that was in my budget that I was able to take and buy some precast bases, which are concrete. So at those particular sites that we have right now throughout the city, we're gonna drop those precast bases in with the help of the engineer and the help of the DPW, and we're gonna wire them ourselves, okay? And hopefully everything will come to fruition within a month or two.
I appreciate that. Kind of going to the larger picture, though, I mean, some of the problems that you had communicated to me when you and I spoke several times about it, has that had a ripple effect in other areas throughout the city, different projects? Type
No.
of tone that they're taking?
No, it just seems like since this new company took over National Grid, that it's a lot harder to do business. Like if you talk to some of the representatives over National Grid, they're afraid for their jobs at this point, because I understand there's gonna be like a 1,200 man and woman cut by August. So like everybody's walking on eggshells, everybody's got a bad attitude, so you can't get anything done, you know? But hopefully that's gonna end soon, you know?
All right, thank you. Thank you, John, I appreciate
Thank you.
your
You're welcome.
work. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you. John, just a couple of brief questions. First of all, do you know if the lights at the intersections on Lafayette Street, Lafayette and Ocean, and Lafayette and Holly Street have been changed out to LED lights yet?
Lafayette and Ocean, I believe they have, okay. Lafayette and Holly, I believe they have.
Okay, because those are still old working lights, you know, they're not.
Yes. Well, all we did was like insert new lenses
Light
into them
bulb, yeah.
constantly, yes.
Okay. The next thing that I notice is the reduction, if you recall, in the sort of the electrical line items was, I suggested
I
last.
know you were a champion in that last year, and it's
Yeah.
coming to fruition.
Right.
Yep.
I can see, you know, your budget, you estimate that you may have a 75 to 80% savings on the traffic light signal side, and also may see a 68% total savings on the street lighting side. And that's written in your budget here. But there's no reduction in the line item for street lighting. I know that you've been switching out most of the street lights to LED.
Right.
I also noticed that if you check the year-to-date figure, there's a considerable amount of money left in that electrical expense line item for street lighting. Mr. Viskey, can you give me a year-to-date figure?
Yeah, year-to-date, we've spent 93.5%, we've spent 631,675. And just to talk about, I mean, I don't know about the 60 or 70% savings on the street lights. I do know there's some savings, but with the street lights in particular, the one project that I was involved with pretty recently was the program of changing some of the street lights over to the LED lights. But in order to do that, there was a program through NSTAR that allowed us to finance those lights within our electrical bill. So
Right.
you may not see the savings from the actual swapping the lights out, because in lieu of going to borrow to buy all these lights and put them and install, the electrical company basically rolled them into our rates. So we're kind of seeing almost a level funded budget with that effect until that kind of 24-month debt service comes off of
Well,
the
yeah, the
utility bill itself.
Yeah, the other part of that too, Counselor, is that we're only talking like that savings within the decorative lighting. That doesn't take into account all the Cobra head lights that we use. So there is a difference there.
So I don't think you see a 70% also.
Yeah, well, apparently, you know, according to the, you know, your sort of your fact sheet on that, budget line item, it says you've installed 375 55-watted LED lamps,
That's correct.
decorative lights, which were resulting in a savings of 68% going forward. So I see, I'm just going to tell you where I'm coming from.
Okay.
I see to date, with a week left in the fiscal year, we still have $44,000 left under the amount that we budgeted last year. So I think we'll be safe if we reduce that line item to, you know, by $10,000. I mean, I can't say that you're still going to have more money than considerably more money than you spent last year. And that's, you know, that'll be my proposal.
Okay. The only thing is, we haven't paid our final month's bill yet, the June bills. You know,
But you have,
right?
yeah, well, it's not going to be,
Well, there's 43,000 left, Council, and just rough math. Take 675 divided by 12, it's 56,000 a month. Obviously, shorter nights during the summer may account for 43,000, being able to fund 1/12 of that, but I think it's risky to cut that at this point. You know, when we see the trend of it going down, we certainly adjust it, but I don't think a $10,000 cut is prudent for this particular budget at this time, given the fact that we do have some debt service that we're funding through the utility bill to fund all these utility replacements. 43,665 balance, 1/12 of the street lighting budget is 56,250, so might not be the best idea to cut that at this point, in my opinion. We did look at the same, you know, we have the same philosophies in some of these instances where we're looking to see what the year-to-date trend is, but in this particular instance, I think the 675 level funded is prudent.
well, I think these are two areas where I pointed out last year that our projections would be high. Seems to me that they're still high, considerably high.
We're right on though, Counselor.
I think we'll be safe. Well, no, $44,000
With one bill.
with 1 week left.
With one bill to pay. It's not one, we don't get a weekly bill, we get a monthly bill. So we'll get one more bill for June, and we'll pay June. We get, just like most utilities coming on a monthly basis, so.
Well, if that's the truth, certainly then it's now the 21st of June, so the next bill that comes is in the next fiscal year. So what you're telling me is you have $44,000 left to close out this fiscal year, which ends June 30th. So unless that bill were to come in and you were to pay it, in this fiscal year, we're talking about next fiscal year's bill.
When we encumber money, when we get down closer to fiscal year end, there are many bills that come in July that are for June services. Usually, you run the month, you get the usage, and they mail you a bill. So what you see is an encumbrance. What we typically do is encumber that whole $43,000 and pay the June bill with that. So again, it is the truth, and we have a monthly bill, and it comes usually after the month ends, or after the period ends. I'm not sure if it's exactly the 1st to the 30th, or what have you, but there is a monthly bill that comes in, and it usually comes in, we don't pay in advance, we pay after we get the good or service, so, this budget's right on, this budget's right where it's supposed to be. As a matter of fact, you may see otherwise that the bill would come in perhaps a little more than $43,000. But we don't have 1 week left where this is representative of 1/52nd of 675. We're talking 1/12, which is every quarter. Every month.
Well, through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at the year-to-date expenses as of May 25th, and I'm coming up with, and the figure that I have is $588,430.
Right, and
That's last month. So then this month, now, on the 21st, about, half of that difference is gone.
we spent, again, we got a May bill in and we paid it, and that was about $50,000. So now we've spent $631,000. Next month, you can assume that we'll get another.
Is that encumbered or spent?
We've spent $631,334 to date. We have $43,665 available, and we have 1 month of utility bill left. So, for all intents and purposes, that $43,665 is going to pay the 12th bill. Again, I don't know if it's going to be $43,665. I don't know if it's going to be $42. I don't know if it's going to be $50, but it's certainly not going to be a 1/52nd of a bill. It's going to be 1/12th of a bill.
Do you know what date the bill comes on?
I don't have the specific date. John may know better, but
they come at different dates, Counselor?
there's
We
many
don't get them
different
all
bills that
one
come
date?
in, so it's not one utility bill for
Right.
the whole city. We get different zones and grids come in, but they come in once a month, so you'll get an influx of the month's worth of bills after the period's over, and then we encumber that money and we pay it when they come in. So basically, year runs July to June, but on that 12th month, we send out our letters to all the departments saying, call your vendors, be ready for these bills to come in, because just because the bill comes in July, it's really a fiscal year 11 bill.
Well, no, it depends.
No, it is. If the service is provided in the fiscal year, then that's what bill it's for.
Once we close our fiscal year, you can't go back to the, you can't go back.
No, you don't
to
go
this
back, you
fiscal year to
encumber the
pay.
money. You take if I
Bills after
ordered a good or service today, and that service wasn't completed till October, it doesn't mean it's a fiscal year 12 expense, it's a fiscal year 11 expense. And then you don't pay the bill
And
until
you have to send in your free cash to have it, the free cash numbers to have them all certified.
we send it in when the books are closed and we're ready to do so. It's usually around September or October. But it doesn't matter, the encumbrance, we can have an encumbrance for 6 months for instance, there could be something and we're not satisfied with the work and we're not gonna pay the bill until we're satisfied. That could take up to 6 months. That doesn't mean it's a fiscal year 12 expense. It's still a fiscal year 11 expense. It's the date the service is provided or the contract is executed. That's how you determine fiscal year bills. It's not when you receive the bill, it's when the good or service is provided. So in a lot of instances, it's a month-to-month thing. So June, if they had a monthly internet bill, it would go from June 1st to June 30th. Then they would send you the bill, say July 15th, you might get the bill July 18th, you might pay the bill August 1st. That's still a fiscal year 11 expense. That's why we encumber that money, so that you don't want to use fiscal year 12 money. We got in trouble for that before. You don't use fiscal year 12 money to pay fiscal year 11 bills. You use fiscal year 11 money to pay fiscal year 11 bills.
Is that council?
I'm set.
Council Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. John, first off, I just want to say that anytime I've called you or anytime I've had an inquiry regarding either the lights down the Willows or anything, John, you've been very responsive. You've always returned the calls most of the time.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, John.
We try to do that.
John, I got a couple of questions. Just the light on, and it's probably a state, I'm going to say the light right down here, you know, where you come right, you're coming up from the log cabin, where the log cabin used to be, and you're taking a right on Washington.
Okay.
That light is red when the light on the other side of Bridge Street is red and nobody's turning left.
Coming up from the log cabin.
Coming up.
What, is that the west ramp? Is that what you're telling me?
The new courthouse is on your
Yeah.
right. You're taking that right.
Right, okay.
That light right there is red. And the light on the left side of Bridge Street, where the cars come up and turn left down to Washington, is red.
Okay.
Are we responsible for that? Is that a state highway? Is that
Oh, no,
something-
those are our lights, yeah. Okay, we can look at that.
Because it seems to me, John, when you pull up to that light, it's red and there's no cars coming from Bridge Street. A lot of people go through it, a lot of people, I think the timing of it's off. Just, I didn't know if that was us or the state, so.
No, we can look at that.
Also, John, on page, section 8, 184, on one of the department goals related to city overall long and short-term goals, it says, about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dot down, which is the city will be engaging in an ESCO company shortly to put together an energy conservation measure package for the entire city,
Right.
both long-term and short-term. Can you,
That did take place already. The city's talking with, I think they selected Snyder Electric at this point?
Snyder Electric, we went through the process of picking a contractor to go and do what they call an investment grade audit. And basically that audit went through the entire city's buildings, took a bunch of notes, measurements, and analyzed our HVAC systems, our electricity, our water usage, et cetera. They came back and gave us an audit on where they thought there could be savings, how much those savings would be worth, and the idea of the ESCO is to use the savings from the energy to fund the cost of the capital. Be quite honest, we've went through the process, and we're kind of in negotiations with the Schneider Electric to determine whether it's in our best interest to go ahead with that ESCO type finance and to do these renovations, or just to pay them for the audit and then go ahead and procure the recommendations on our own, because there's a cost plus basis of how they price their goods. A big portion of that ESCO was a lot of the repairs to City Hall, and so right now we don't have a final on whether we're going to go ahead and use ESCO as a way to do these repairs and these energy savings, or to take the projects and do them individually based upon what we think the priorities are. In some instances, we think there's some benefits, and in some instances, there's some downfalls. I mean, a lot of the electrical stuff, we feel like we can do it in-house, and we can probably procure it and probably get better prices to do those jobs. On the other hand, if we give Schneider Electric the whole ESCO contract, we're dealing with one vendor to deal with all the work, and there's some efficiencies there with regard to engineering, et cetera. So we've done the audit, we're analyzing what's best for the city, and we'll probably have some kind of answer within the next month or so.
what was the cost of the audit?
The audit is 50, it was, if we don't go ahead with the ESCO, the audit is $54,000 and change. It's actually reflected in the capital plan as an item to be funded with capital outlay. The way it's represented in the capital plan would be that we would just pay for the audit and go ahead and do the repairs without the ESCO. But it's kind of, I think they realized we were looking at that direction, and now they're coming back and trying to sharpen their pencils and make this a viable project. So right now, we got a little bit of negotiations going on with Schneider and trying to figure out what's the best way to go with these repairs.
So it was 54,000 and it came out of the capital outlay.
It hasn't come out of anything yet. They've done the audit. If we go ahead with the ESCO, that cost of audit goes away.
Okay.
That rolls into the cost of the debt of doing the whole, it's about $3.2 million. If we say, thank you for the audit, we got a lot of good information here, and we're gonna use this audit to go about it our own way, we pay them for the audit. Right now, it's, we haven't decided which way we're going yet, but for capital planning purposes, I wanted to put it in that we were gonna pay for the audit and go ahead with the projects as such, but that was only put in that way because I had to pick one or the other, and I'd rather pick going our own way as opposed to saying, yeah, we're gonna go ahead with it because
One follow-up.
Still on the floor,
Thank you.
As,
Go ahead,
Can I
John.
speak, Council? Okay, as a follow-up to Rich, looking at the whole scope of the picture is that we're trying to get the best bang for the buck for the city, and basically, the audit fee is gonna be worth it to pay to Snyder, because like, even if we go outside, we contract all this work out, and the buildings that we're talking about are substantial. We're talking about the library, we're talking about DPW, the city hall, Salerno, Bates, police station, DPW, parking garages, you know, we're talking about LED technology for them maybe. This will be the third time we went into the garages if we go there, okay? Fire department. So, there's a lot to it. I mean, we labored over this, we've been at this anywhere between 6 and 9 months, you know, try to like, are we getting the best that we can for the city in regards to like the overall savings? And where Richie took it was right, that Snyder would give us a good job at City Hall and to do all the renovation work, the envelope, there was some envelope work with the windows and all that stuff to do with the building. After that, we found that we could go better outside and get the work done with outside vendors doing electrical retrofits and all that stuff, which would even save us more. The $54,000 would be absorbed in the amount of money that we would save by outside contracting these particular buildings, less City Hall.
Just one quick question, John. I see we're gonna retrofit the decorative style lights down the wall to LED. Will that change the brightness? Because I've got a couple of calls about the brightness of those lights down there.
Too light? Too bright?
Well, just the one in particular at the corner of Bayview, at the corner of, is Bayview Road? No, it's, yeah, Bayview and Fort. Yeah. It's just
Bayview
that
and Fort?
there's a house, 2 or 3 houses in,
Okay.
and that light is at the corner, and it just, you know, well, I mean, I think it's, I don't know if it's the tone, the brightness, that's why I'm asking LED compared to that, John.
No, it shouldn't be any brighter, okay?
Okay.
As a matter of fact, it should be like a tad less.
Okay, that's a good thing. Well, I'm just curious, that's all. I think they
What
look
we'll
great.
do is,
but-
before we convert them, we'll put up a couple and
Right.
see what they look like, then you guys can decide, you know, how we wanna go.
Okay.
You know?
All right. Just that one, I think Bobby's aware of it, just that one
Okay.
person.
But that one, okay, I'll look,
That's because of the glare.
Yeah. Okay,
okay,
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, John.
you're welcome.
Mr. Giardi, I just want to, as some of my colleagues have stated, every time I've called you, you've been attentive. The whole Harbor Walk lighting issue that you dealt with, would make sure that the contractor that did that came back and made sure that they were all up and running and the timers were adjusted the way they were supposed to be. You were very instrumental in making sure that those were up and running.
I appreciate that, Council.
The one question I have was result of an article I read, and I'm not comparing us to Green Bay, Wisconsin, but in Green Bay, there was an article because they went through this program and they switched all the traffic signals to LED, and then they had some horrendous weather like ice storms, and because the LED lights don't emit heat, that the traffic signals all iced over, and
Correct.
lo and behold, they had traffic gridlock because no one could read what the signals were. Are we experiencing any of that to any degree?
We did. We had one storm this year that I had to send my guys out to clean them up. Yeah, we did.
Send them out there with a truck,
But
with
it's
chip
not
and hammer?
it's not an ongoing thing. It's only like when you have a severe storm that you get a northeast wind and everything's whipping around. One time I had to send the guys to clean them up. And it was only at certain intersections. It wasn't, you know, everything.
So you don't anticipate that being a problem?
No.
Okay. No, I was just because I read an article someplace about LEDs, and that was one that kind of interested me because, you know, we don't have that severity of weather, but we have had it, and with the ability to, I mean, do you make a choice and only replace 2 of the bulbs and leave
Right,
one? So,
yeah, right.
because it generates some heat, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, yeah.
Someone handed me a note. At the Willows?
Yeah.
I got a note that there was there was a kids concert at the Willows last night, and there were a whole bunch of lights out.
No, no, no.
Oh,
What's that?
Mrs. Campbell had the kids count, and
Okay.
the lights were out, and there were 14,
Okay.
Just to
There's
help them out.
14 lights out
just
down
to
the
help
Willows.
them out.
yeah, that was
kids were
correct. That was correct, and my guys were down here today,
Okay, good.
working with Mrs. Campbell, and she's gonna be, fair lady. She's gonna go around and mark the lights that are out for us, and we will take care. We did 7 today, so there's 7 up.
Yeah, excellent. Well
She's
done.
right, she's right.
No. Thank you.
I'll make a
You're welcome.
motion if nobody's got some.
Sure, go ahead.
Make a motion.
Council Pinto.
Make a motion to approve electrical personnel for the sum of $261,218.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Council Pinto to approve electrical personnel in the amount of $261,218, seconded by Council Fury. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carries. Council Pinto.
Motion to approve electrical expenses for the sum of $772,000.
Council Pinto moves to approve electrical expenses in the sum of $772,000,
Second.
seconded by Council Fury. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Council Pinto.
Motion to approve electrical department total, $1,033,218.
Council Pinto moves to approve the electric department total in the amount of $1,033,218, seconded by Council Fury. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, councilors. I appreciate your support.
Good job.
You guys have a good
luck.
year.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
7 to go down the Willows, right, John? 7 to go.
7 to go.
All right.
Ruth will let you know.
That's for sure.
What are we doing next, Counselor?
We're gonna take, human resources next.
Okay. What, give me a
Tab 12.
Thank you.
And for the record, I didn't state this earlier, as requested by
That was it.
the council president. This meeting is live on SATV. I forgot to state that earlier, so
Put my feedback down.
you can do whatever you want, council.
What?
It's on SATV. I forgot to state that earlier. The request came from somebody in the committee, went through to the council president, and the council president requested SATV put this on, and it is currently being aired, so
Great.
for the record.
We're live?
We're live.
Could be live, I don't know.
Alive.
We're live.
You can watch it on webcam or web post, or however they do it now. You can watch it like the next day. So we got tab number 12, Human Resources, General Administration. With us this evening is Lisa Camerata, the Human Resources Director. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
If you could briefly give us who, what, where, when, how, why, where we're at, where we're going.
I can do that.
Thank you.
It's been a good year. I actually echo the electrical department head's words. It's been a good year. It seems like it went by very fast, but we have a lot happening. I think one of the biggest things Human Resources is involved with, obviously, is health insurance, and you'll see later when we get to that tab, that's the biggest piece of my budget. It seems like it's always something on the front burner, whether we're looking at, the cost or our utilization with the Insurance Advisory Committee, or promoting wellness programs, or constantly looking at the rates, or I'm calling Maya, or calling my rep over at Blue Cross Blue Shield, or we're all, talking about the GIC. It's just always something we're working on, and I think that this year actually proved that because over the course of the year, we actually moved all employees, whether it was through, actually most of it was through the collective bargaining. We actually moved all of our employees over to the lower cost, more affordable plan, the optioned plan, and we actually finally have phased out the $5 copay plan, and we also phased out the Value Plus plan. So as I said, that's just something that's always on the front burner, and you'll see, and actually one of my goals and for for this year is also to continue work, with the Insurance Advisory Committee to keep them apprised of where we're at, what we're doing, and so that they're always involved in the process, and we're not just talking about health insurance at the very end of the fiscal year. We were able to implement an opt-out plan. We actually had 6 employees take advantage of that, which actually saved us in premiums as far as family plans and individual plans. We had 5 families and 1 individual. Let me see, what else did we do? We put together a health reimbursement account that has worked out quite well for some of our employees. And then in addition to health insurance, there's just been some ongoing things. We put together a salary survey this year, which was rather comprehensive. We finally have gotten our Munis system programmed so that with the assistance of our data processing department, also my staff, as well as the finance department, all of our collective bargaining agreements are programmed into our Munis system, as well as all of our non-union employees, so that every employee is tied to a pay code, and so that is all automatic. There's no overriding in our system. We've got checks and balances in place, and we're very, very pleased with that. Last week, we actually saw, finally, which I think Rich would agree was a rather long, arduous process, but we actually have accruals printed on our employees' checks, which means we're actually tracking sick, vacation, and personal time, and it will show up each week. Actually, monthly, we'll do an accrual update, and employees will actually see how much time they have on the books. We're really pleased with that. We had some new employees come on this year. We've had a few terminations. We're still working aggressively on our unemployment costs, and bringing us full circle, we're back talking about health insurance, because it's the end of the fiscal year, and we're ready to move to, the start of the fiscal year with Blue Cross Blue Shield again. That's kind of an overview of, where we are and where we've been and what we're doing.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that the mayor has joined us. Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you. Lisa, I have a question about why legal services arbitration should be included in your budget at all.
Well, I mean, when a union grievance is filed, typically with AFSCME and also the PD, but typically with the AFSCME union, I am the mayor's designee for, writing the grievance response, holding the hearing, and then writing the response. And if the union decides to take that grievance, if they're not happy with my decision, and they want to take it to arbitration, my department will cover that fee.
Well, I'm looking at the year-to-date expenses for this fiscal year, and there aren't any. So I just don't know why that line item wouldn't better be served, in the legal department. And I don't know if we're going to give every department a separate amount for legal services or arbitration.
We actually did last year.
Legal services, I don't know why it doesn't belong in the legal services budget.
Well, it's actually the fee for arbitration. We actually cut it this year. I'm just being optimistic because I don't have any grievances pending with the union that I typically deal with, which is the AFSCME union. So we did scale that back, I believe, $500, just, sort of with our fingers crossed that don't have any huge issues this year. But, I mean, we have used it in the past. This was just a year where it didn't come into play as much.
Yeah, I see. And the other thing that I have been sort of vigilant about is I'm not going to approve any raises this year of greater than 2.5%. So there is a raise in here in the personnel line items, 5%. So my proposal will be to strike that back to a 2.5% raise.
Okay.
If I could just speak to that issue, I apologize for coming in a little tardy. So I think as members of the committee know, we are proposing for exempt employees a 2.5% increase in salary, but also looking to offset that with savings in health insurance by asking employees to pay a larger portion of their health insurance. There are a handful of positions, I believe it's a total of 7, for which I am requesting compensation in excess of the 2.5%, and that comes with the work of doing a salary survey and looking at like communities in similar positions and seeing that we had a half a dozen positions that were really way out of the line in terms of what similar communities are offering for these employee salaries for like work. In terms of human resource directors, let me just share that information with you. The range from the dozen communities we looked at had the tally going from $77,000 to $87,000 and change. I'm actually rounding them down. Lisa's current salary is $70,818. So you know, we're trying to keep good people here, professionalize operations, and also recognize that even with an increase, you know, you won't be in the range, and that's true of, as you know, because we've talked about this before in other committee hearings, of just about every single one of those 6 positions where we have looked for slightly more than 2.5%. In many instances, folks still aren't even in the range. It's an opportunity to try and put ourselves in a position to retain good employees, or when employees leave, not see what happens typically. We lose good people and replace them with somebody and end up having to pay more just to meet the market. So I hope the committee would take that into consideration.
You all set, Councilor Rowan?
Well, just through you, I'd just like to respond to that. If you take a look at what other communities are doing, take a look over at Beverly and take a look at Peabody. I mean, these are tough fiscal times. Both Beverly and Peabody are proposing budgets with no raises across the board. I don't think it's, you know, I don't think that it's terribly onerous to hold our raises to 2.5%. Certainly, you know, in this economy, anybody getting a 2.5% raise is doing well. I mean, it's not a punitive measure on my part, you know, on my part. But certainly, I think to give somebody a 5% raise or a 7.5% raise or larger raises in this economy just, I mean, it just sends a bad message. So that's going to be my motion.
And I appreciate that, Councilor Ronan, and I'm very cognizant of what other communities are doing. In fact, I often look at what nearby communities are doing, and while this year PBD and Beverly have opted to have 0% increases proposed as part of their budgets, if we looked back at those budgets over the last 2 collective bargaining cycles, 6 years, I think you'd find that both PBD and Beverly have offered more generous increases to their employees than we have. In fact, oftentimes PBD is one of the leaders on the range of these positions. So I understand where you're coming from. I certainly don't mean to feel as though your approach to this has been unreasonable. I'm only sharing with you why I'm proposing a higher percentage. And while it's easy to look at a snapshot in time, looking at just this year, if we looked at this thing over the last 6 years, I can tell you just about every single year, those communities have offered higher increases than we have, and oftentimes without those requests for givebacks in terms of health insurance that we have. So comparison just in 1 year doesn't necessarily tell the whole story. So I would share that with you as well.
I've been on the council for 2 years. Last year, I drew the comparison to Beverly because their budget and ours, you would think, would be similar since we have, you know, roughly the same population, roughly the same demographics. Their budget today is in the paper. This is the first year that their budget has reached $100 million. I mean, as you know, ours is a third higher than that.
I would correct you last year, and I'd correct you again this year. I think I circulated this memorandum to the council. The number that Beverly refers to in the paper does not include their water and sewer and enterprise accounts. If you compare apples to oranges, last year, I can't speak to this year because I haven't done the comparison of their enterprise accounts, it was about a $3 million difference. And I should add that Salem receives about $3 million more in Chapter 78 for our schools. So the comparison is much closer than a third off. And if you compare our total budget, including our water, sewer, and trash enterprise, and their total budget, their operational end, and their enterprise accounts, they are very, very similar.
Well, with all due respect, we're going to go over the enterprise funds tonight. We're talking about $14.5 million out of a $131 million budget. So if you subtract that out, I mean, Beverly is certainly and has historically spent a lot less money on their budgets than we have.
I will be happy to recirculate the memorandum I prepared for you last time you raised this comparison, which showed that the numbers are not that far off. I haven't looked at the proposals for fiscal year 12, Counselor, but we received more Chapter 78. Our school costs are in fact higher, and that was just about the amount of the offset. It's just unfair and untrue to say that there's a third difference when you compare apples to apples, the budgets. The number you read in the paper does not include their enterprise accounts.
Okay. Well, ours does, but our enterprise fund out of a $131 million budget is $14.5 million. So if you take that out, then you've got apples to apples.
Well, let's look at what their
you know,
enterprise account was. It was substantially higher than that last year. So again, I think it's worthwhile to look at these items in
I also
an
think they have-
apple-to-apples comparison.
I think they also have 5 enterprise funds over there, not 3.
Yep.
You all set, Council?
I am, and
Council Privy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lisa, for the expenses line items, educational and training, What
Yes.
constitutes that?
That could be, we have reimbursed employees, for example, for their CDL licenses over in the Public Services Department, or if somebody takes a course that is directly related to his or her job. And as well as we've used that for the Munis training, which we've used extensively this year to get us up to speed so that we could get the system programmed and also to have the accruals print on the checks.
Okay. But for the Munis system, wouldn't that be is that contracted services?
We did use some of it.
I mean, we're using an outside entity to come in and train our folks?
I know this year we used some of the educational training just because there's been a lack of training internally. I mean, whether it's with regard to Microsoft products or the Munis system, there's a lot, I find a lot of people complain that Munis, there's something wrong with Munis. Well, a lot of times it's really not Munis, it's just the people haven't been trained on the latest and greatest modules. We put Munis in 10 years ago. They've had several upgrades, so we took the opportunity this year to bring in people from Munis to hold trainings in our training room over there to get them up to speed on accounts payable, on the new payroll system, on the time and attendance system. So I know this year in particular, the educational training was us training our AP and payroll clerks on a lot of the new upgrades in Munis that we've had. Every couple of years they upgrade the system, have new improved products in there and new improved reports you can run, and just trying to keep our clerks up to speed on what the system has. So I know this year we used a lot of it for that.
Lisa, you had made reference to people like, for example, people in DPW, they have to get their CDL license or whatever. So that's reimbursable in the sense of they're responsible for paying for the program themselves, and then when they complete the program, they submit something for reimbursement? Is that
Yes.
how we
Yes.
operate it?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. We would always get verification, or if it's a course that's taken, verification of the registration, verification of the payment, and verification the person took the class.
And those are educational things or training programs that are required based upon what their job is?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing is too, the office supplies. I see the last couple of years it's been $1,500, now it jumped up to $2,000.
That's us zeroing out other, well,
Zeroed
not
out.
other expenses and office equipment. We zeroed them out, we just kind of put them into one office supply line. So it's a net effect of zero essentially, but.
Oh, so 5780 moved up to 5421, is that it?
Yeah, and 5851,
58.51.
so 200 and 300.
Okay.
We moved up, trying to clean up some of those other.
Okay. So they all fall under office supplies then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Lisa,
Yes.
on section 8, 121, can you explain the 2.8 full-time equivalents? Do you share these people with some other department, or are they just, that's what they work?
No, actually, those are their hours. Monica Dominguez is she's a personnel assistant. She works 28 hours a week, and Linda Pereira, who does school benefits, works 30 hours a week.
Okay, so that's the hours they reflect, are they full-time, I mean, do they work in any other departments in the city, or they just strictly?
No, strictly under
part-time?
human resources.
Okay, thank you. Council Ronan.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if there are no other questions, I would move that we approve human resource personnel expenses in the amount of $221,089, which is a reduction of $1,777.
Repeat that again one more time, Council.
$221,089. It's a reduction of $1,777.
1,777.
Yes.
Cutting this out right there. Second.
Motion on the floor by Councilor Ronan, seconded by Councilor Pinto to reduce the human resources personnel line item by the amount of $1,777, resulting in a new total of $221,089. Is that correct, Council?
That's correct.
Seconded by Councilor Pinto. Any further discussion? Councilor Fury?
Mr. Chairman, the amount of money that these two people have saved in the medical situation, in the benefits program, and the grants program is simply amazing. And to cut this $1,000, maybe small, but the message is not correct. I think we need to keep that budget the same as it is. They should be actually higher in the situation compared to other cities and towns, as the survey indicated there. So I'll be voting against.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposed.
Matter carries with the reduction. Council Rowan.
I would move that we approve human resource expenses in the amount of $29,950.
Council Rowan moves to approve human resources expenses in the amount of $29,950, seconded by Councilor Pinto. Thank you. All those in favor? All those opposed? Council Rowan.
I would move, I better check my math here. I'm going to move that we approve total department expenses of $251,039. Let me just check my math. 251. Is that what you had? I think that's correct. Is it?
251. 039, thank you. That is correct, Council.
Okay, that's my motion, to approve total department expenses in the amount of $251,039.
Council Ronan moves to approve Human Resources Department total amount of $251,039, seconded by Councilor Pinto. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposed.
Matter carries.
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, I don't know who was opposed. I know you opposed, favor of the budget cut. Oh, you don't have to vote?
Well, I need to.
Okay.
Human Resources Workers' Compensation. You would, Lisa, just go through this one?
Sure. We have been insured with Maya since July of 2008, so we still currently have, let's see, the first line in this is the workers' comp wages, which are the 9, what I call tail claims. These are former employees who were injured who are still collecting with us. They were adjudicated, mostly permanent and total disability. So there's 9 employees, and it comes out to about, I think we're right on the money here with 160,000, because its current salary comes out to about 3,000 a week. Will bring us about to 157,000. I'm anticipating a COLA, which is the cost of living increase that comes up. We get it's a multiplier factor based on the year of the injury. That comes out in October. Interestingly enough, this past year saw their amounts went down by very little, but there was no increase. It really depends on the economy. But I think that at 160,000, we're in a good spot for that. Under the next line, we have workers' compensation medicals, and again, on those tail claims, we still pay some medicals. So that is why that is still level funded. The medical extension, you'll see that we zero that out. That was the required legal fees and COLA assessment, but as again, I don't anticipate a high COLA this year, and I think we can still work with that with the 160,000 that I've requested. And then under our premium, we estimated about a 3% increase, which brings it up to the $270,000. We have a verbal commitment of about $280,000. I got that this afternoon from Maya. We've also have a credit in there, so I think we'll come right in under budget on that as well, right around $270,000.
Council Ronan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if there are no other discussions, I would move that we approve workers' compensation personnel expenses in the amount of $445,000.
Second.
Council Ronan moves to approve workmen's compensation personnel in the amount of $445,000, seconded by Councilor Fury. All those in favor? All those opposed? Councilor, if you could do the department total, please.
I would move that we approve the department total of $445,000.
Council Ronan moves to approve the department total in the amount of $445,000, seconded by Councilor Fury. All those in favor? All those opposed? Human Resources Unemployment Compensation. You're up again, Lisa.
I'm sorry?
You're up again.
Well, actually, I think last year at this time I was asking you for more money, and I was actually pleased that we did not have to do that this year. So, and a lot of factors come into play for that. A lot of the benefits, the extended benefits have been exhausted. In fact, you might have heard actually today that the unemployment rate in Massachusetts has actually gone down, which means some of the federal extensions will not be triggered. I'm not sure how that's going to affect us right now, but we have been fortunate that some of the benefits have exhausted. Some people have actually gone back to work. And I can tell you that we're very vigilant with this. We do, I mean, you'll see in just in the accomplishments that we have successfully protested some claims. I have another one actually this Thursday. We have to go to Lawrence for that. We're just keeping an eye on it. And we've got, I would say we're keeping a better eye on it, especially with the schools, with substitutes, so that if substitute teachers are called in and they refuse work, we can actually report that to unemployment so we can protest that claim. It might sound minor, but in the grand scheme of things, it has had an effect on our overall unemployment costs. So I think that what we're looking for this year will serve us well.
Council Rowan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, not much I think we can do about this, these expenses. So I would move that we approve unemployment compensation personnel amounts of $250,000.
Councilor Rowan moves to approve unemployment compensation personnel in the amount of $250,000.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Fury. All those in favor? All those opposed? None that carries. If you could do the department total, please,
I
Council.
would move that we approve department totals of $250,000.
Councilor Ronan further moves to approve the department total in the amount of the exact same amount of $250,000. Seconded by Councilor Fury. Thank you. All those in favor? All those opposed? None that carries. Human Resources Group Insurance.
As I mentioned earlier, this is something that seems to be, like I said, it's year-round. It's something we pay attention to all the time. We've worked to try to find ways to lower healthcare costs. This year, we have a rate increase of 7.34%. While, we did hear trends were in the double digits, this was still high for us. We've been working with Meyer and Blue Cross Blue Shield to look at a more affordable plan. Unfortunately, what we need complete migration to that plan. So right now, we're still looking at this increase of 7.34%. I mean, as I said before, we offer an opt-out plan, so that has incentivized some people to opt out of our health insurance, the requirement being they needed to be on health insurance for at least a year. We have tried to increase participation in the cafeteria plan, which will allow, our employees to put aside, their, any additional money they may pay in co-pays or deductibles in a pre-tax plan. So we're doing everything we can, with Maya, with our wellness programs and everything we can do to try to keep healthcare costs down by keeping our employees healthy, but we're still hit with a rate increase of 7.34%.
I should point out there's a couple of things in flux with regard to this particular line item as we are awaiting legislation. It's really been a bit of a roller coaster ride. It looks very promising that we'll finally have a little bit more tools at the local, for local elected officials at the management level, but it's not without its hiccups. The most recent version of the Senate plan would require a different treatment of retirees than cities and towns have had to treat retirees, which would actually cost us about $267,000. So we're kind of waiting to see what the final version of legislation looks like that's adopted by the legislature. I think there will be an opportunity for us to, set a benchmark closer to the GIC, which would save us some revenues. But it really remains to be seen how helpful it's going to be for next year in particular. That's the reason we're in dialogue with our unions about tweaking some of our plans now, not seeing as heavy of an increase in the hopes of trying to keep fiscal year 12 level and look to do, some of the more, I guess, larger changes in fiscal year 13. But, we're hopeful, but it's a little difficult still to know exactly how that is all going to play out.
Quick question.
Council Pinto, then Council
sorry.
Rowan.
Who's that?
I think me? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. You're on any time frame on that?
Well, they should, they're on time to adopt a budget for the state by the end of this month. So, we're hearing, they're back and forth. Their committee is caucusing. It's in conference committee between the House and the Senate, and it should be out before June 30th. When exactly, I don't know when. But right now, there's back and forth, and this particular piece pertaining to retirees could have a serious negative impact for us.
Thank you. All set, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Council Rowan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, to you, to the mayor. I just had some questions about the health insurance reimbursement account, because I know that, I know the idea is to incentivize employees to get on a plan with a higher deductible.
You got it.
Do we do that in several different ways? Have we established a policy? I mean, can you
Yeah.
explain that?
So we have currently a health plan that requires higher deductibles for inpatient admission and outpatient admission. We never had a deductible at all for that. Over the last year, we tweaked it. So we do cover that expense now. Going forward, one of the things that we're looking at is if you were to go into the GIC, which has a much higher deductible, $750 per plan. So that's not per item or inpatient or outpatient visit or MRI. It is a solid $750 that you would owe, and then there are some on top of that. So the reason we want to have some flexibility with the health reimbursement is, as we, depending upon what this legislation comes down, and as we are in a position to work with our, with a little bit more authority to work with our employees to come up with a plan, that may become a critical way for us to actually save money, to be able to reimburse for some of the larger items. We don't reimburse now for some of those items, but under the GIC plans you would. Another component the Senate has built into their provision is wellness benefits, and then almost like a catastrophic insurance, so for heavy users. For folks who are at the low end of the pay scale and have heavy use of the system, meaning they'd have a lot more co-pays, whether it's for prescriptions or for deductibles, they'd want the city or town to try and reimburse folks for that, to sort of take the curse off of moving to some of those higher co-pay plans. So what we do now may be very different from what we're able to do going forward, but it still probably is going to entail smoothing things over for our employees, because the GIC is definitely a stark contrast from what we do now.
Okay, let me just, I want to make sure that I understand this. Do we have a plan in place now to reimburse for these deductibles?
Yes.
We do. So this $150,000 is to help us with, to implement that plan that's in place now?
That's correct, yes.
So what would happen? An employee would go in, be admitted, and then submit?
Exactly.
Once he's sent a bill for the copay, submit it to the city for reimbursement?
Submits it to HR. I believe we make them
We have
pay
a
it.
third-party administrator.
We have a third-party administrator. Actually, the IRS does not let us do that. It has to be administered by a third party, so they've actually drawn up our plan for us, and it goes right through the company. It's called CPA 125 Cafeteria Plan Advisors. They're local. I believe they're out of Somerville. They're close to us, and they handle all of that. And then they just bill us with an invoice, and then we pay them. So we don't handle the actual reimbursement to the employees. It's got to be handled through a third party.
Okay. And we don't pay this to the third-party administrator. They bill us on a case-by-case
Yes.
basis.
Yes, they do.
We paid them for just the master plan document, that's it.
Understand.
Yeah.
It's the same firm that manages our entire cafeteria
Yes.
plan. So folks who take out the pre-tax dollars for braces or daycare or what have you, we have a plan that we administer that allows employees to do that. Then they submit reimbursements to CPA 128 and are reimbursed for that. But we,
How many employees are now covered by this, this reimbursement?
All of them.
All employees that are.
Well, I guess before, police and fire probably didn't, their plans
No,
are
all
probably
of them.
better.
And anyone who
They went
has,
to the options plan.
anyone who's in the options plan has the right to get reimbursed for inpatient or outpatient deductible. So everybody who's covered under that options plan. It was phased in, but at this point, they're all in the same options plan.
Okay.
At one point, they were in the older plan, which they weren't getting reimbursed for, but over the course of fiscal year 11, we've got all parties into that options plan.
Okay.
And
Well, I
they-
see, this is something that really is gonna start in fiscal.
Yeah, we phased them
12.
in through fiscal.
We haven't spent much money on reimbursements yet.
hasn't been a
But-
full year
yeah.
because fire we just got on in
January.
January, I want to say, so some of our higher users. In terms of the CPA plan, just the whole cafeteria plan, we have seen a spike in that. I think, part of this has been really a long educational component with employees, helping them understand that, you may make $40,000, but there's a $15,000 health insurance cost, and if that's going up in double digits, it has a real impact. And if we can reduce that, and we may be able to incentivize you to do that, that makes sense for us and for you. But it's been, we're getting there. We've had some cooperation, and then there are times there are setbacks, and we'd have to work through them. So
Okay. Just one more question, and I guess, Rich, you'd probably be the one to answer this. Have we done a projection? We're giving back to our employees, which makes sense, to get them to sign up for a plan with obviously a bigger deductible. we're getting something in return, we're getting cheaper premiums. But we're also giving back, you know, in certain instances, a 2.5% raise, plus that now we're gonna cover their deductibles here outside of their plan. Have you done any projections in how much money you expect to save, you know?
You know,
On which, there's a couple of different things you said together. You're talking about projections on going to a higher deductible plan, or projections on a higher contribution rate for management employees. There's two things going on. There's one of the options we're trying to do is to increase some of the co-pays to our current plans to allow our rate of 7.34% increase to go down. We're negotiating now with the IAC to try to get that accomplished. There's also a component where we've budgeted that management and non-union employees are gonna be contributing 26% of the share versus 25% of the share. So
Okay.
I don't know which one you're talking of, but we've made projections.
Well,
on both.
why don't you tell me about, have you done the calculations on each?
well, the savings on taking the tweaking the plans this year for everybody was a few $100,000 if we can get everybody to do it. I think it was close to $300,000. That's tweaking the plans. The harder part is we haven't sat down and done collective bargaining, so our collective bargaining units have not agreed to a higher percentage, and we still would have to negotiate that under any of the legislation that's pending if we would like to promote the trend that we are putting in place for our exempt employees, which is you're picking up a higher percentage of the total overall pie for health insurance. We still would, that's not something we can do unilaterally. The only things we could do unilaterally, well, remains to be seen what exactly the language, how it's going to be adopted, but using the GIC as the benchmark. That has substantial opportunities for savings as well, although it's a stark contrast from how we operate. We're going through a lot of the numbers as part of collective bargaining, and I think it may be more beneficial for both the city and for our employees to increase their percentage of contribution as opposed to changing to the GIC. You change once, you get the benefit once. You know, we have that lower cost plan and then it's in place and it goes up whatever the rate is. If we have our employees paying a higher percentage, obviously that benefits us more long-term.
Yeah, well, I guess, Rich, you honed right in on it, on the two issues, and I don't know whether or not,
Yeah.
you know, you can give me an overall savings for, you know, one, employees who pay a high, if we got everybody to pay, you know, a high
No,
percentage.
I haven't done all of the employees at a higher contribution rate, because quite honestly, I think it's a futile exercise at this point. I don't think.
Because you
you're
don't
gonna-
know if they're going there.
Yeah, well, I know they're not. We're not gonna get contribution rate changes for 2012 at this point. What we can get, changes in the plan design, because if we can't negotiate them, there may be there's very likely chance that we'll be able to do it anyway. So, those savings, I think you can see from the department to the mayor's budget, we've lowered the medical insurance $150,000 to hedge that modification, depending on, again, the mayor said around $300,000 if we get some of these changes, depending on when they get phased in. We estimate about $150,000 savings in that regard. Again, we're paying right now for July's premium, so we're not gonna have it in July. I don't know if we're gonna have it in August or September. With regard to change in management co-pays, it's $10,000 savings right now for fiscal year to go up 1% on the contribution, but that's just taking a small percentage of the total amount of people on the plans. There's only a small portion of us that aren't represented by some kind of collective bargaining agreement. So the savings at 1% is approximately $10,000, and that's taking just the city side management and non-union people. I haven't done that exercise for the whole city because, again, I can do it, I can run numbers all day, but I try to do the ones that are pertinent to what we need for this budget.
Yeah,
That's what
well,
I've come up with now.
I guess what it comes down to is how much money are we saving by picking up $150,000 in employee deductibles? But
Well, you'll never know because it's all dependent on how many claims there are and how many people are eligible for those reimbursements. I mean, we hedged up the health reimbursement account by $50,000 in the event, I mean, if you read the House plan says if you go ahead and you can't change contribution rates, you have to still bargain those, but you can change some of the deductibles as long as they are in line with the GIC plan. And they're requiring you to take some of those savings and put them in these health reimbursement accounts in most instances anyway. So there is a little bit of a hedge here where we're decreasing the medical insurance line in anticipation that we're gonna have some savings, and then we have to bump up the health reimbursement account because there's a good chance that the legislature is gonna require us to do so anyway, so it's, I mean, you can see we upped it 50,000 and we lowered the medical 150,000, so that therein lies what we're projecting at this point, but it's really anyone's guess until we know exactly what the rules are gonna be and how long it's gonna take us to implement them. Again, we're trying to negotiate these changes without doing it, without negotiation, and at this point, our health insurance provider is not gonna let us do this piecemeal. Either we go into a new plan altogether, or we don't do it at all. So we need all 8 unions, plus the management, to go into a new plan at once. They're not gonna give us these opportunities to move 1/9 of the city into these other plans. They've been pretty flexible with us in the past, but at this point, they're not gonna give us the option. It's either all into a new design or stay with the current design. So we're hoping that somewhere between now and October, we can move everyone into a design where we save some money, but we may have some additional costs with the higher co-pays and the amount we have to reimburse these employees for having such.
Okay, all right.
All set? Council Brady.
Make a motion to move for approval of personnel group insurance in the amount of $11,276,999.
Council Brady moves to approve total group insurance personnel in the amount of $11,276,999, seconded by Council Pinto. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all is in favor, all is opposed. Council Brady.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of department total in the amount of $11,276,999.
Council Privy moves to approve the department total in the amount of $11,276,999, seconded by Councilor Pinto. All is in favor, all is opposed.
Thank
Oh,
you.
it's done.
Thank you, Lucy.
Nice job. Thanks, Lisa. Good hand.
What's up next, Chief?
We'll go to the Board of Health, the Health Department, I'm sorry. And with us this evening, we have Mr. Larry Ramden, thank you, sir. The new health agent. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Tab.
Tab 17.
17.
Sir, basically, we go through a basic overview. I know you knew the job. We'll take it slow. Basic overview. You have a mission statement stated right here. How things are going. How things are going. What you anticipate. Kind of just basic overview of what your budget is, and we'll take it from there.
I know, we worked with this budget with Dave Greenbaum. I guess David couldn't be here tonight, so I did meet with Larry and talk a little bit about it. I don't want to speak for him, but I know he doesn't have too much to say about this particular document. He didn't prepare it. I don't know if his mission will be the same as the prior mission, but I don't know how much of it we'll get into as far as reaching the comments and as such, so I want to at least help segue to that. I don't know if there's anything in particular to talk about in the health department other than the actual numbers themselves. I can certainly help with those, and I did review it with Larry today and try to give him some familiarity with the process, but I know that he didn't prepare the mission statement, objectives, et cetera, so I don't know that we'd elaborate too much into that, if that's okay with the A&F committee.
How's it
That's
going
fine.
over there?
Good so far.
Fitting in?
Yes, I am, and I'm coming back every day.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would you still, a personal introduction of what his background is from Reading as council liaison to Board of Health. He was just chosen as part of the screening process. We're all very impressed. We're all very excited. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
I've been working in public health for the past 32 years. I've started out in the mosquito control program in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and I've progressed on. I did my basic public health training at the Barbados Community College.
Louder, Larry, please.
I did my basic public health training at the Barbados Community College. I graduated at the top of my class. I hold a bachelor's in health sciences out of Northeastern University. In health sciences, I'm waiting on a schedule to do my final presentation for my master's in public health at Northeastern University. I hold a master's in public administration and too many certifications and trainings in public health. I was most recently the public health administrator in the town of Reading, and as I am in town in Salem, what I'm doing is reviewing what we've been doing and see what we need to do and making projections for next year. That's why it's somewhat challenging to address the goals and objectives. My board has already decided that they would like to review their goals, mission statements, vision statements, and objectives, and they will be meeting to do that. This will obviously change.
Excellent, thank you. Council Room.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, to you, and I suppose this would probably be to the finance director as opposed to the health agent, just because you weren't here last year. What strikes me out of this budget is the line item for in-state travel. We've spent approximately $1,300 for in-state travel, looks like the last 2 years. And the line item, the budgeted amount is $5,000. So I'd like to save three grand there.
Well, I know that,
Especially since we have a new health agent, and we'd like him to be here in Salem as opposed to on the road.
Yeah, but that is actually, some of those costs are for employees who don't receive vehicles. We worked with ASME as part of the last collective bargaining agreement to reduce the fleet and not provide vehicles to plumbing inspectors, building inspectors, and health inspectors. So there are employees that do receive a stipend in exchange for either having a vehicle as part of their fleet. There's 3 employees at $1,500 each. That in itself totals $4,500, and I think there's $500 just for miscellaneous travel outside of Salem. That might be a mileage reimbursement for those employees not receiving.
Well, what I'm looking at is what we've spent year to date. Have you got the current?
yeah, I think that's just a product of the people haven't submitted their reimbursement and getting their $1,500 stipend. I'd have to check on that, but I know as part of the vehicle maintenance program, management program, we've taken many cars off the road. A lot of departments had city vehicles. We've taken those vehicles away. We've taken away the cost of maintaining those vehicles. We've taken away the cost of fueling them and insuring them, et cetera, and went with the stipend route instead. So
Well,
at this point, I don't think there's money to be taken there because these are contractually obligated stipends for using their own personal vehicles to do their job.
It may just be a case
Have you
that
got
they
have you got a year-to-date figure on that? I'm looking at the year-to-date number as of May 25th, which is $1,306. That's all we spent.
Yeah, it looks as if we've spent $32.50 and we have $17.50 encumbered. Again, it looks like of the 3 people, 2 of them may have put in for their reimbursement for their vehicle, and 1, I can check on that. I know it's a contractual obligation. Usually people put in their paperwork to get reimbursed for the use of their personal vehicle, and we cut them a check. So I can do some research and get back to you tomorrow on the status of that particular line, but
When
again,
do they have to do that by?
well, I don't know that there's a mandatory,
Can they do it on the first day of the fiscal year?
I encourage doing everything on the last day of the
Yeah,
fiscal
well,
year.
sure.
So that's why, in a lot of cases, you see these balances here. I mean, I think the fairest way is quarterly. I don't like to pay people in advance. I don't think anyone should wait a whole year either. Something to look at. If it's not specified in the contract on how we pay it out, we can definitely look to tighten that language up and ask me negotiations. But typically, I like to see these stipends paid quarterly in arrears. So September, December, March, and June.
Yeah, but obviously, that wasn't
It's
done.
obviously, but again, maybe it is, and maybe we're just 2/3 of the way through the process. I will check it. Maybe they get half and half. I don't know it off the top of my head, Counsel. I will check it, though.
Council Preview.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Rich, along those same lines then, if it's something that's contractually obligated on our part in terms of a stipend, why isn't it in the personnel then?
Because it's a reimbursement of an expense. Usually anything in the personnel line goes into your paycheck and it's subject to withholding taxes, federal, state, et cetera. Some true reimbursements are paid as an expense because they're not taxed. You're putting out some money, you're getting reimbursed, so it's not necessarily considered compensation as far as for retirement benefits and for income purposes. You don't get charged your Medicare taxes, your federal and your state taxes, et cetera. True reimbursements aren't usually taxed. They're reimbursements to expenses.
But it's still something that's part of their contract?
It's part of the contract that we signed with AFSCME, the inspectors are in the AFSCME union, and again, we took away cars, as cars were deemed inusable, as opposed to buying new cars, we've come up with, we think it's more efficient and cost-effective to pay employees to use their own cars and reimburse them for the expenses. In some cases, we do a strict mileage rate, but with regard to people who drive throughout the city every day and keeping a daily log of Bridge Street to Essex Street to this street to that street, sometimes it's easier, more efficient just to pay them a flat rate and as a reimbursement for using their own car. But I'd have to, it's been a while since I looked at the vehicle management policy and the AFSCME contract and how they relate to this particular expense.
So the rate is based upon the rate we're paying per mile that they get?
No, this particular one is just based upon what we negotiated as what we thought was fair. I mean, I'm sure they wanted 3,000, we probably wanted to give them
So they get-
500.
So it's 1,500?
1,500 per inspector for the 3 inspectors.
Okay, so no matter how much driving they do or how little, you know, whether
That's
it's
the way-
a high amount or a low amount, they just get flat out $1,500?
That's the way it's designed right now, correct?
Okay. And that's all I mean, does there seem to be, I know it's not a lot because it's 5,000. Does it seem to make more sense if people actually put in actual reimbursements? If they drove a certain number of miles and then submitted the reimbursement based upon that, it seems to be a better,
Yeah, I mean-
better measure of their actual work product.
I think so. I just, some of it, I think the administration of someone who's inspecting 10, 12, 15 places a day and coming back and actually doing a mileage log of going from point A to point B, B to C, C to D, E to F, and doing that on a daily basis may not be the best use of their time, and therefore you say, okay, let's take an average of what you expect to do for the year and pay a flat rate. I mean, there's some cost benefit in not doing a daily log of every particular place you went over 225 work days a year, so it could, if you did the exercise, you may save money, it may cost you more money, but I think this was kind of saying what's reasonable, and I think we'd rather the inspectors doing their, you know, health inspections and reporting as opposed to a detailed mileage log of point A through Z. But I'm not an expert. I'd probably, you know, when Larry and I do more business together and we start looking at some things closer, maybe we come up with a better way. But I do know that the flat rate just seemed to be fair on both ends, agreeable on both ends, and I don't think, I mean, 1,500 over 12 months is $125 a month. The federal reimbursement rate is 50 cents a mile, so
51 cents.
did it just change?
It's been 51 cents for a while.
So I think the other factor that's important is we started this dialogue with employees who had vehicles. So as part of a collective bargaining discussion, they had access to city vehicles. We wanted to limit the fleet as a means to save money. So, I mean, I would certainly say a $1,500 payment to an employee is far less expensive than a vehicle, the maintenance, the gas, the insurance, you know, all of that we had. Notwithstanding your point that I like mileage too. I like to see it. We're 8 square miles, you know, are we really racking up $125 a month? I'm not sure. I think it's probably close. But given where we were at, where we actually had vehicles, and this was a change in working conditions, it had to be a negotiated payment. So I just factored that in as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Rich, one quick question. They get $10.99 for that expense?
Yes.
No,
No?
not for reimbursements.
Yeah, for use of your vehicle, you do. I'm sorry. So for anyone who has a city-owned vehicle, that I should say, police and fire, I guess public safety is exempt under the IRS, but all the rest of us receive a $10.99 for vehicles.
So I guess my question is, this compensation, that part of it, I know they get a lump sum check. How does that count, tax purposes, how do they get it?
It's not taxed.
not
It's a reimbursement of an expense.
So we
The ones
follow
who
the
get ta-
IRS code, so I mean, I think we're not deciding whether somebody should or should not be taxed. We're generally following what the IRS rules are. For years, nobody received a 1099 for personal vehicles. We stopped that and said, nope, the IRS requires it. And now anyone who has a vehicle that they use to go to and from work or to and from their home receives a 1099 at the end of the year.
If we provide the vehicle, if the city provides the vehicle to the employee, that's a taxable benefit. If the employee is being reimbursed for an expense, it's not a taxable benefit.
Okay,
It's a reimbursement of an expense.
thank you. Counselor Roman?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, through you, again, to the Finance Director. What's, under the personnel line items, we have a fringe benefits stipends line item.
Yeah.
And that's $5,750.
Yes.
What's the difference between that and the amount that we're paying under the expenses for the travel?
Every member of the ASME union gets a $1,150 stipend for, the acronym is PLATS, it's Professional License and Training Stipend. Doesn't have to be used, I never see it used for professional license and training. It's compensation, it's taxed. See, here's the rule of thumb I use. If I give you a uniform allowance, I'll have to charge you taxes if you're not giving me receipts, but if you have $1,000 to spend on boots and gear and you bring me in the receipts that you spent it on boots and gear, you get reimbursed and you don't get taxed. That's the rule of thumb. If you don't want to report, if you don't want to give me the receipts of the expenditures you made, then you get taxed on the compensation. Simple as that. So this is more or less, I mean, it's basically additional compensation in the form of a stipend. It's not, we're not requiring them to do anything. It's not as if the health people get it and the DPW get it, and so do the clerks in the city. Everyone in the ASME union gets this. It used to be a clothing allowance. A couple of years back, they changed it to this professional license and training stipend. It's something that's in there, and it's basically paid out once a year, and it's taxed.
Do they require any particular license to qualify for this?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. It's contractual.
Counselor Roman?
Yeah, if there are no further questions, I'm going to move that we approve health personnel expenses in the amount of $344,000.
Counselor Roman moves to approve health personnel expenses in the amount of $344,000.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Fury. All those in favor, all those opposed? Counselor Roman?
I'm going to move that we approve health expenses in the amount of $19,600.
Counselor Roman moves to approve health expenses in the amount of $19,600, seconded by Counselor Fury. Thank you. All those in favor? All opposed?
And, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve department totals of $363,600.
Counselor Roman moves to approve the department total in the amount of $363,600, seconded by Counselor Fury. All those in favor? All those opposed? That carries. Thank you, Larry.
Take care.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely high on the list. Wrapped.
Next, engineering or parking? Gotta wait till parking, because engineering's got the water and sewer.
We'll go with parking, Mr. Hacker. Tab number 7. Thank you, Mr. Hacker, for joining us this evening. Seems like we've seen a lot of you lately.
It's always a pleasure.
If you could just go through where we're at, where we're going, what we're looking at.
As you know, I treat the parking department as a business that's in the city. And a little bit of good news, I've extended out what I think our revenue is going to be for the rest of the year, which is just a week. And it appears that the garage will generate a little over $1.3 million, which is a $120,000 increase.
The lots and meters will generate about $986,000, which is almost a $56,000 increase. And the fines collected will be approximately $938,000, which is a slight decline of $100,000, which we anticipated with the advancing of the meters from 1 hour to 2 hours and issuing fewer tickets. All in all, it's we've generated $3,234,000, an increase of $215,000, not including the fines, including the $100,000 loss on the fines. It's about $110,000. This is really pretty good news because the Visitor Center just released their figures for the last year, and they had a 13% decrease. So we're holding our own. I'd like to explain the expense end of the budget first. We are anticipating a increase in the electrical account due to the fact that we've added some lighting in the garage, we've made it a little safer and a little more secure, and all the fixtures are working. The maintenance account, we are requesting a $10,000 increase. It's been about 8 years since we painted and really cleaned the stairwells in the Museum Place garage. This last year, we had a tremendous amount of difficulty with the mall management, locking the restroom doors. The stairwells were used as a substitute restroom, and we're doing the best to keep it up, but it needs a real overhaul, so I think that's a justified expense. We've asked for a slight increase in a telephone, and that's due to the kiosks in the Church Street and the Bridge Street lot right now. Tremendous amount of the business that we do there is done with charge accounts. It's grown to be about 65% of the sales that we get in those lots. And every time somebody uses their charge card, it calls out, and we get hit with a little fee. It sounds like a big increase, but we've had about a 60% increase in those lots since we've put the machines in. So I think it's a pretty good business decision. Reflecting a decrease in the printing, which will just kind of go into effect of what we did this year. Same thing with the parking tickets, where we requested 1,000 last year, and we didn't use it all up, so we think we can get by with 500 this year. And the same thing with the travel allowance. We didn't use everything last year, so we think we can do it a little bit less this year. Have asked for a $10,000 increase in the equipment, and that would be basically to build a shelter over the kiosks over at the Church Street lot to improve customer service. We're getting some complaints in the wintertime where the snow and the rain gets to people as they're trying to use the machines, and this would just go a long way to help with the customer service.
I should also add that Jim is one of the positions that I mentioned earlier, similar to Lisa, who really doesn't, his current salary doesn't meet what we're seeing in terms of trends in other places. And to be frank, there's not many communities that have municipal parking garages, so it was hard to find exact comparisons. We did find the community of Brockton, which has a range of $65,000 to $74,000 for their parking manager. And we also then looked at some of the private sector companies in terms of what they charge, what they pay their parking managers, and it far exceeds what we're currently paying Jim. So we are looking for a slight increase above 2.5% for his salary. I'd like to point out that this is one of the areas that one, generates a lot of revenue for the city, in excess of $2 million a year coming in from parking garages, parking lots. That's all under Jim's management. And two, also has a number of employees that needs to operate. It's a 7-day-a-week operation. There's nearly a dozen employees, some full-time, some part-time, need to be scheduled. It's almost harder when you have that cadre of part-timers to try and manage shifts and schedules. Jim's out there on Sundays, he's out there on Friday nights, whatever needs to happen. And I do feel like it is a special skill set. Not anybody can, it's not like any of our managers could move over from another slot and fill in and do the job that Jim does and do it as well as he does.
So I'm hopeful that you might look favorably upon an increase for this position, given both the hours, the responsibilities, and the amount of revenue that's really generated out of parking operations for the city.
Counselor Rowan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you. Jim, the good news is I will recommend an increase. The bad news is I'm not going to recommend a 7.5% raise. I haven't for anybody recommended any pay raises of greater than 2.5%. Not personal, and it's been across the board, so I'm not going to really get onto that, but it will be my proposal that we reduce the personnel expenses to reflect a 2.5% raise, not a 7.5% raise. The two issues that I want to talk with you about, though, are the two equipment lines where you're seeking a $10,000 increase in both. The first one is under the building equipment and maintenance line. You explained to me that money would go towards painting the stairwells, apparently. I see the only description we have in the budget is your line item of $2,000 for the year before for driveway sealer went up to $12,000 for and that's all it's listed as, driveway sealer. So you went up by $10,000 on the line that says driveway sealer. You want to give me any more specifics on that increase? That's under your building equipment and maintenance line. See what I'm talking about? You take a look at the description we were given.
I think the driveway seal is $60, and it's the vehicle maintenance, it's $2,000, $12,000. I think that's an error on our part. Vehicle maintenance is it should be just regular maintenance. If you notice, it's not Jim's department request for this dollars. Those dollars were put in as part of the mayor's recommended budget. Initially, the power washing and cleaning of all the stairwells in the garage were initially part of Jim's capital request, but I reminded Jim that capital request for the CIP was a $25,000 minimum expenditure, so we removed that request from the CIP and put it into the maintenance line. So the $10,000 for the cleaning of the stairwells in the garage there is an adjustment made by the mayor and I to fund that. Same with the equipment. Jim's initial request was $2,500. We initially wanted to put shelters over several of the kiosks. Did some formal bids, got some pretty high rates. We were planning on doing 3 shelters, 1 down the MBTA and 2 in the Church Street lot. We thought the prices were pretty high and exorbitant. At the very least, we want to put 1 shelter over the double machines close to the engine house, fire engine house restaurant there, so that, again, in the winter, sometimes we get a lot of complaints, wet bills in particular. If it's raining out, those machines are meant to be weatherproof, but when people walk up and they pull their money out of their wallet and they try to put it in the machine, if it gets wet, it tends to reject it. Same goes with sometimes with the snow and ice and using the credit cards. So over the last year, we've noticed that those 2 machines are definitely the highest used machines in that lot. So the $10,000 is to go to build a shelter over that particular pair of machines, so that there is a sheltered kiosk for use of that Church Street lot machine. So
Okay.
I just want to let you know that it was.
All right, well.
So that's why you might not see
No, what I see is, talking about that.
But you're on the driveway sale, I think you're 1 line up, but.
Well, we'll talk about what you were talking about first, the shelter over the Church Street kiosk. It doesn't say that anywhere. It says, basically, you're looking for an additional $10,000 for miscellaneous office equipment replacement as needed.
Again, those were Jim's.
I'm not gonna approve $10,000.
Those were Jim's requests, we added them in. What we didn't do is we didn't add them into Jim's. It's more of our error. We should have put a line in there to reflect the $10,000. That's
Well, I
what, we're
think
telling you verbally now, but we should have put an extra line in there that said $2,500 for miscellaneous office equipment replacement needed, $10,000 for a kiosk at the Church Street lot.
It just went in the heading of building equipment maintenance, that would be the kiosks. And then, I'm sorry, building equipment maintenance would be the garage upgrades, the interior painting and cleaning and power washing. And then the equipment would be the kiosks. And so there definitely, we could have put some more detail, but that's the title of the line item.
In our rush to get these budgets out, sometimes we should have added a line there and made it specific for those two $10,000 amounts. But I'm here to explain to you exactly why those budgets went up 10,000 in those two particular lines. One of them is for the much-needed cleaning, painting, and power washing of those stairwells that, like Jim said, we've had a lot of problems this winter, rough winter. Bathrooms were shut down in the mall a lot. A lot of people using our stairwell as the facilities. With regard to the kiosks, again, a lot of successes in them. We've also had some complaints, especially when the weather's foul. We'd like to put up more than one shelter, but at this time, we think that at least one over that double unit would be prudent, and it would be good for customer service and try to get people to do that. So, my apologies for not putting that in a little clearer into the detail, but it's not as if we're looking for $10,000 for driveway sale or,
Or $10,000 for miscellaneous office equipment.
that's right. It's a mistake.
I understand. I'd rather see it somewhere, and I guess what I'd really like to do is, like to keep the whatever we're gonna put over the kiosk at Church Street or otherwhere. I'd like to see that in conjunction with the capital investments that we're gonna make with respect to the parking plan. We're gonna upgrade our meters, we're gonna do, we're gonna bond for that money. So I'd
Again,
rather see
we
it.
don't bond. Our capital policy is $25,000 minimum. That's why we took it out. For one shelter's $10,000, that's not something, I wouldn't go to bond for one $10,000 piece of equipment.
And the cleaning and
Anything-
maintenance isn't a capital.
And clean and maintenance isn't even technically capital, it's.
No, well, no. You are going to invest a lot more money than, unfortunately, I hope we get a bang for our buck, more than $10,000 once we implement our parking plan. We're talking about purchasing, an enormous amount of equipment, new meters, et cetera, and making a significant capital investment. What I'm saying is a shelter over kiosk is part of that. I mean, it's part of that parking plan. I think it belongs sort of in conjunction with that rather than listed as, a vague line here under miscellaneous office equipment.
There was nothing in the parking plan that spoke of shelters over kiosks. I read the plan. This is something that we're initiating for current equipment in the Church Street and the
There's nothing that
Almies
says
lot.
office equipment, just so we're clear.
Yes, there is.
I'm sorry, where do you see that, Counselor?
If you take a look, this is, the way these two $10,000 increases are shown on the parking department is, if you take a look at, I'll go, take a look at,
Line 5860, equipment?
5860, now go look at the description of it, and you'll see,
Council, we admitted it,
I'm suggesting the title of the line item is equipment, so I think we've clarified that, yes, we should have had another line.
okay, but you see where it's described.
we admitted the error and we admitted we can do it better, and I apologize for that.
Okay.
But I think it's
heading was
clear what the
equipment,
money's
yes,
for.
That's the point.
Well, yeah, it's just whether or not it belongs here in this budget or not, I suppose.
Well, again, I think it belongs in this budget because it's under $25,000 threshold for capital, and the policy I set for the capital plan is $25,000, and that's why things under $25,000 show up in the operating budget as opposed to the capital budget.
Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Jim, for the, it's line item 5255, the building equipment maintenance, for the painting and the cleaning of the stairwell, or the painting of the South Harbor Garage, in the stairwell,
Museum Place.
Museum Place. Is that something that we're gonna be doing, or is that something that we're contracting out?
I think it'll be a little of both. We'll probably have to contract out the steam cleaning. Haven't really explored it completely, but the quotes that we got for it were in that vicinity.
Okay.
I'm not sure which is gonna be more economical for us. One of the problems that we have is when the garage was built, there are no drains in the stairwells. So all the water we use to steam clean is gonna end up knee-deep down at the first floor, and that's something we'd like to try to avoid.
Do you know when the last time it was cleaned?
1952. It's been a long time. It's probably when I first got here,
Oh, okay.
about 10 years ago. We cleaned it and painted it.
How often do you think it needs to be cleaned? I mean, obviously, Richard mentioned,
Well,
you know, we all know when we go in there,
I think my crew does a
so.
pretty good job of doing regular maintenance, but this year it was just horrific with the fact that it was used as a restroom.
Just a tough winter too, with a lot of salt and tracking of all the crud through there. It was a pretty harsh winter.
Yeah. The, for the electricity line item, there's been improvements to the lighting in the garage?
We've
In
added-
terms of additional lighting has been made, or is it just a changing of the system?
Additional lighting.
Okay. Just for improvements for safety and stuff like that?
And we had a lot of lights that were out, that were waterlogged, just damaged over the years. We were able to get them up and going. I think right now we have one light out in the garage. It's a battle to keep it going.
I'm sure you get it. We get some of the similar complaints of when people use a garage, especially on a constant basis, particularly at night, you know, lights being out, people not feeling safe, that type of stuff. So I think that's certainly a big improvement to that, because I think it goes to the heart of, you know, people's sense of safety in using the garage frequently.
Well, again, I try to treat it as a retail business, and when people tell you something's wrong or something needs to be done, you need to listen to them, because they're trying to tell us to do a little better job for them. We may be the only garage in town, but we can certainly improve on what we have.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counsel. Just one second, Counsel. I think I spent, the record reflected, Jason Silva's here from the Mazo. I think I spent 5 or 10 minutes in his office after last night's meeting, with meeting on a different subject. And I went in because a constituent had called me about these very issues, and about the Museum Place Mall actually not opening up their restrooms on a constant basis, and some other issues. And I'm very happy to see that this was one of the issues that it was brought up to my attention from the people who live in the Essex that use that garage a lot, was the cleanliness of the stairwells in particular. So I think it's a much needed addition, and I hope that it goes well, and I hope that we can do it right and maintain it so it does, so it works, and hopefully we can encourage the mall to keep their bathrooms open. So I thank you for bringing this in, and I thank you for taking listening to the needs and wants of some of our constituents and frequent patrons of the garage, and actually address this issue. Thank you. Council Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim, just a curious question for me. I see meter batteries under building equipment maintenance, 3,400. I don't know how many meters we have in the city. I'm going to guess thousands. My question is, it's 3,400 this year. Is that something that's around the same every?
Council. Sorry.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Is that something, Jim, that's around the same every year? Do we have a thing where we do it every third year, or is it going to be more one year, less the next year, more following year? As we change. And
We have about 700 meters, and they require 4 AA batteries. We usually try to change them either just before or just after October, because with the cold weather and the lack of the sun beating on the meters, the batteries do go dead. So it's usually an annual charge.
Is it yearly?
Yes.
So we do it yearly.
Right.
And just one other thing, Jim, on your raise, I can support the 2.5. I can't support the 7.5, and that's not personal. And only because I've been out and about knocking on doors, and people are very concerned with Dominion, very concerned about their taxes, and you know, and what increases taxes is pay increases, increases the payroll. And it's nothing personal, Jim. I see from the numbers that parking is doing very well. It could surely support the raise that the mayor's asking for. I'm just not going to support it. And like I said, it's nothing personal. But on that note, I just think that the sense I get from people is that with Dominion closing, it seems like 1 out of every 3 households I go to, Dominion is the subject. So people are a little kind of walking on eggshells. And for me to approve a 7.5% raise, it would be kind of tough on some of my constituents that are on fixed incomes and such. But like I said, Jim, nothing personal. You do a great job. It shows in the numbers. I just want you to know that I'm going to support the 2.5% raise, but not what the mayor proposed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Council Ronan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you, if there are no further questions, I'm going to move that we approve parking department personnel expenses in the amount of $544,904, which is a reduction of the amount requested by $2,738, which would take the 7.5% raise down to a 2.5% raise.
First of all, Council, can you rephrase that? You referenced parking department expenses.
Personnel expenses.
Well, you referenced, just to I knew what you were doing, but just for clarification.
Sure.
And then could you just clarify the numbers once again, please?
Sure. I move that we approve parking department personnel expenses in the amount of $544,904, which would be a reduction of $2,738 over the administration's proposed budget.
Council Ronan moves to approve parking department personnel with a $2,738 reduction to a new total of $544,904.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Privy. Under discussion, Councilor Fury.
But it's a credit to good management. And the budget is already, he made, when she came coming in this early evening there, it's increased over anticipation. That's due to good management, good strict vigilant personnel, meter maids, we've all been victim to the meter maids, vigilant personnel there. Some of them have to wear flak jackets, I would think. But God bless, you've got good people to work for, good manager, professional, to say that 2.5% fits all sizes in every single department. I have 4 teenagers. They're all wearing different shoes. To say that they're all going to be getting the same shoe or the brand is so inappropriate. It is so arbitrary to draw a line in the sand. When you got one department actually showing revenue increase, we're punishing them, saying, "Oh, we're going to give you a 2.5% raise." I think that's really wrong. I don't think it sends a good message. Here was the department's over expectations, over revenue, generating, trying to be more safe in the process, and we're not going down there. I think it sends the wrong message. I don't know whether you're going door to door, I'm going door to door too, and they should be pleased with these revenues.
Councilor, keep it to the discussion, please. Don't make it personal. Thank you. Motion on the floor by Councilor Ronan, seconded by Councilor Privy. Thank you. To approve parking department personnel in the amount of $544,904. All's in favor? All's opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Ronan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I would move that we approve parking department expenses in the amount of $151,100, which would be a $10,000 reduction in the amount that the administration is looking for.
Council Ronan moves to reduce the parking department expenses in the amount of $10,000 to $151,100. Second?
Discussion?
Under discussion.
I know Councilor Rona wants to cut this down, but it seems clear that this is being used for the shelter, the kiosk, and that was something that was discussed before. Quite some time ago, actually. I remember when the new kiosks were first put in, that was one of the things that was discussed in terms of needing that, because one of the first complaints we got, obviously, when inclement weather struck, was the fact that people's bills were getting wet, or even if they were using a credit card, that ends up being wet. So I think it's important that we have this is just for one shelter?
The 10,000 would do one shelter to fit two, the double units.
It's the double unit, okay. Any sense going forward as to the other one?
I think the prudent, finding this was so expensive, the prudent thing here would do to try it on one machine or one area, get the customers out of the bad weather, and if it seems to work, then we can expand it.
Yeah, when we did the quotes for 3, we were talking over $25,000 for 3 units. It just seemed a little rich, especially not knowing the exact future of the MBTA lot, which we proposed to put one down, And, of course, we wanted to put a second one at the Alamis lot there, but again, we know we need at least one there where the double units are. That, I mean, I've been out there, I've stood out there many mornings to interact and see what people's feedback is. That's where they all kind of go down to, so that would be that would be the number one location for this. And again, if, you know, if in the event we get additional monies and we can find a way to put a second one up, that would be great, but we think it's imperative to at least get one shelter up over there in that lot for these machines.
And maybe we'll only need one, just obviously during bad weather,
Yeah.
everyone's gonna migrate over to that particular one, and obviously during,
Right.
when we have decent weather, then they can use whatever, so. Okay, so my thought is, I understand what Councilor Ron's trying to do, but I think we do need the kiosk over there. Like I said, we talked about it when these things first, you know, went in as part of the plan going forward to make sure that it would make it user-friendly, more user-friendly, because it doesn't make any sense if during inclement weather, people are not gonna use it, or it becomes a difficulty for them to use it, and I think this would help out tremendously, even though they do. I mean, they seem expensive, I don't know what they're made of, so, but sure they're custom designed for some type of machinery that we're using out there, so.
I still want us to explore other potential models. 10,000 seems like a lot for one of these, but for right now, that is the bid, that's the actual
Right.
quote we got, so.
Okay. How many bids do we get on it?
We got several, we got 3, I think.
Okay.
There were some that were just really odd. I mean, $40-some-odd thousand for 3 of these keys. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Yeah, it took us aback too. That's why we scrapped the plan and came back and asked for one.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Council Ronan?
Yeah, whether or not it's a good idea to put a shelter over the kiosk at the Church Street lot, you know, is open for debate. But what, the problem I really have is that unless we, you know, really vetted this out and started asking questions, you'd have never found that amount for a shelter in this budget. You know, the amount is listed under miscellaneous office equipment replacement as needed. The department head had put $2,500, and then the administration had bumped that up to $12,500, which they're telling us $10,000 is for a kiosk. I'd like to, I mean, I just don't think that that's the way you fund a you know, that you fund a kiosk. And the same thing happened with respect to apparently the maintenance or the cleaning up of the garage stairwells. That's not listed as a cleanup of the stairwells. It's listed as an increase in the amount of driveway sealer we purchased from $2,000.
You're reading from the wrong line.
$12,000.
Again. And we offered up that.
CIP requests that Mr. Hacker submitted as part of our CIP proposals that came in. We identified that they didn't meet the CIP and put them in this budget. We certainly could have clarified it, Counselor, absolutely. Nina, working together, we all just, hey, what line item does it fit in? Equipment, okay, it fits in equipment. It doesn't fit in office personnel. We were looking at the larger numbers, the 5860, and then the building equipment and maintenance for the cleaning.
It's a little,
That's what's behind it. That's the story behind the story.
it's a little disheartening that you pick up on one error in a budget this thick and make it sound as if we're being disingenuous, because Jim opened up with the statement on his expenses and articulated both of those in his presentation to you on what the increased dollars were. So it wasn't as if it was in there in a way to disguise it. It was an error on our part, which I've admitted to twice already. So when you get up here and you say it for a third time that it wasn't in there and it was hard to pick up, we understand it was an error, and we actually told you why they went up before you even asked. So I don't like the connotation that there's something in here that's trying to be deceitful or disingenuous, Counselor. I've explained it to you already.
Well,
We work hard on this budget, and you can debate it all you want, you can make cuts all you want, but please don't insult us and try to say that we're trying to hide something in here that we're not.
Listen, I don't want to get into, you know, any personalities. People can play back the tape. This came up because I asked questions with respect to these items.
It came up in Jim's presentation.
Hold on, I have the gavel.
And I believe,
And you have the floor, but I will, before this proceeds, Mr. Hacker initiated the discussions, and under discussions, Mr. Hacker discussed his expense items before anyone else brought up anything about anything, and specifically, because I wrote them down as he was telling them, I have them circled with lines. he discussed, he specifically wanted to talk about his parking department expenses, and he listed them out and told us what they were before any discussion. So that being said, we do not have to have a back and forth debate between the finance director and yourself with regard to this issue. I mean, I respect your counsel, I understand what you're trying to do, but at the same time, Mr. Hacker brought it to our attention first. I wrote him down as he was saying them, so.
Well, I respectfully disagree that Mr. Hacker was brought up first, that there was going to be a shelter over the kiosk. That came out after discussions about the increase in that line item. But
Look at the tape.
with respect to this budget, we're being asked to look it over. If you take a look at the front page of the budget, it'll say, this budget was reviewed by members of the Administration and Finance Committee, and our names are listed. And we're asked to vote on this budget and these lines as they're listed here in this budget. And so we're being asked to look over and approve miscellaneous office equipment replacement as needed in the amount of $12,500, which we all know now is not really what those monies will be used for. So that's the purpose that I suggested that we reduce that to the appropriate amount that we need for miscellaneous office equipment and replacement as needed, and we address the building or the structure over the kiosk when it comes appropriately before us.
Has a second been made?
No, it's still in discussion, so
Has a second been made?
there is no second as we speak. Further discussion, I would agree with Councilor Prevey. We were on the council when the kiosk first came in, and I think that when it first came in, there was some discrepancies with regard to the cover to it, which we agreed we need, at that time we needed. And the second discrepancy was when they, I think it was Joanne Russ came in and asked us for additional money because of the credit card fees that were actually being incurred that we didn't account for. So I think the kiosks have actually worked. I think this will be an improvement. I support taking care of this matter now as opposed to later, because it has been an ongoing issue, and it is the lot is in Ward 1, and it's, well, for right now, barring the approval of the rezoning, redistricting. So that being said, I agree with Council Prevey on this one. I think that the $10,000 for the shelter is long overdue and needs to be done. So I will not be seconding this motion. Is there a second on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion.
Council Prevey.
Move for parking department expenses in the amount of $161,100.
Second.
Council Prevey moves to approve parking department expenses in the amount of $161,100, seconded by Council Fury. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposed?
Matter carries. If someone would do the total, please, now.
I'll make a motion, but I'm gonna need a number.
Nina, could you have the number, please?
708, 742.
708.
No, I have
706, 4.
706,004.
That's what I have, right.
706.
Nice try, Nina.
706.
70604. 004.
I'd like to make a motion.
Council Prevey.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve department total in the amount of $706,004.
Council Prevey moves to approve department total in the amount of $706,004, seconded by Council Pinto. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposed.
And it carries. Oh, where are we?
See you later.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
What tab we got there, Robert? Engineering.
Engineering's tab 22.
You. Get him up.
With us, we have Mr. Knowlton and Julie Rose from Engineering. Thank you for joining us. David, if you just want to give us a brief overview of where we're at, where we're going. And by the way, for the record, they came in and changed my water meter today. They were very professional. They actually called beforehand because they were a little early. My wife wasn't home yet, but they in and out less than a half hour. So on a personal note, they did what they were supposed to do.
Great, great. That's good to
Not sure
hear.
how it works yet, but we'll see. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you and good evening. Just as some background, the engineering department has 8 full-time employees. We have 2 billing clerks, we have 2 water meter readers, a secretary, a business manager, which is Julie Rose, who's here with me tonight, myself, and Ellen Telkowski, who's in our department. We have currently 4 part-time employees. We utilize a part of the week from a clerk from the assessor's office to help us with billing issues. We have a senior volunteer, which is Judy Cohen, who has done an outstanding job for us. We really enjoy her. She's a go-getter, and she's actually, I think, enjoying herself as well. She's overstayed her initial commitment to the engineering department, and we continue to utilize her talents. We also have a college intern that we had some available funding for, and we're asking for some additional funding in this budget from you to keep that commitment through the summer. And also, we have the GIS administrator, who's part of the department. The engineering department manages the engineering side of the water and sewer enterprise funds, as well as the solid waste collection funds, enterprise fund, and that includes, the big portion of that is the billing that goes out on a periodic basis. We also manage the backflow and cross-connection program for the water system, manage the Chapter 90 roadway improvement projects, which is funded by the state. We manage the roadway opening permit program. We also support the planning board and Concom and other departments in the city with engineering advice. We are managing the TIP projects. One is currently under construction over on Bridge Street, about a $10 million project, and we're managing through the design process 2 other projects, which is the Canal Street project at an estimate of about $6 million when we get to construction, and Boston Street, which will be probably in that range as well as far as project costs. We also have a pavement management system, or citywide, which helps us rank the conditions of the roadways in different wards and helps us to allocate funds for paving programs. And we also staff a recycling committee. Julie does that and has done a great job with that and moving recycling forward in the city. And overall, close to about $15 million worth of other capital improvement projects that are going on out in the city, whether it's a water project, sewer project, drainage, roadways, bridges, playing fields, you name it. So we get involved in quite a bit. We're very busy, and I think we're a motivated group and doing quite well. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Councilor Rowan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you. I guess I'm going to start on the, just on our general administration, on your general administration budget. So through you, Mr. Chairman. Dave, I had a question of why we're putting an advertising figure in your budget this year, whereas in the past we haven't included any advertising figure.
This is part of the effort that Rich talked about to identify specific cost centers, I guess, in each budget, where before they were lumped into maybe an other. Now we have specific line items for that. So that's for advertising of, for contractors to do specific construction projects.
Okay, but as I look back at the, the actual expenses that you've used for that line, well, let me ask you this, Rich, is that because this was listed as other, or are there any year-to-date expenses for 2011 for advertising expenses?
It's a new line.
Have we ever has this department ever spent any money on advertising?
It's been under other in water and sewer and trash, Counselor, but we didn't have a specific line item within the general administration. Some of the advertising really should be funded under the general fund, so that's why we added it this year.
Okay, and do we know how much that was? Because I know there's another advertising expense, I think, under
I just see
one of the
both water and sewer, we pulled it out from the other line. In past years, we've had it under the other line. We were asked this year, I mean, I think the finance department actually pulled it out based on our summary under the other line item.
Try to budget the costs where the costs incur.
Okay, but I'm
Yeah, that
looking,
there's some advertising costs that should have been budgeted in the engineering department, so it's part of the 2012 budget. we reflect it as such. Again, every year, we try to improve and pinpoint exactly where all the expenses are and place them in the appropriate budgets and in the appropriate lines. So, 2012, it was noticed that we should have some advertising money in the engineering general fund because there is some advertising that happens within that particular budget, and therefore we put the $750 in there. In past years, that may have been buried in the water and sewer account, may have been done so incorrectly. It may have been paid out of an account that it shouldn't have been paid out of, so when we go and analyze these budgets and we find out that there should be some money in particular budgets, we try to go forward and improve upon that, and that's what you're seeing in 2012. I don't know that I can specifically say that it was $200 out of this account that's going here or not. It's just that when we review these budgets and we go over year-to-day expenditures and some of the deficits and where lies the problems, it was noted that we should have some advertising dollars in the engineer general fund budget, and therefore we put some in there.
Okay, yeah, and, you know, carried those lines, I can see in the water enterprise fund and the
Yeah,
sewer
again,
enterprise.
we don't want to pay all the advertising out of the water budget if it's not water expenses, so in some cases, there's general fund expenses and there's advertising that has to do with engineering in general, not specifically for water or sewer, so, you know, again, how much we're gonna use, I don't know, it's the first year we put it in there. Typical advertisement costs about half at $750, so you may have enough for 2 advertisements in the year.
Okay.
We may find that we need 4 advertisements, we may need 1, but we collectively thought that $750 in an advertising line for 2012 was prudent and a good place to start.
Okay, I guess my next question to you, Dave, is the $2,000 for office equipment. I think it's for a map file, you know, a file cabinet for maps.
Flat file, yes. Yeah.
My question is what do we store them in now, and why is this expense, and why is this, you know, something that we need today?
It is, this is a start. We need quite a bit of help in this area. All of our plans, 99% of the plans that we have are rolled up and stuffed in cubby holes in our plan room. They are in bad condition because they're rolled up and they're stuffed in with other plans. The cataloging of them is not good at all. It's very difficult to find a plan when you want one. So this is kind of starting on that road to get a better handle on our existing maps and valuable maps that we have. And we need to refer to those, you know, quite often during the day.
How many of these file cabinets do we need? I guess I'm asking you the question because I know that there are several flat file cabinets that were used by the Essex Registry of Deeds in the Federal Street building that they're not using down in the new building. They're going to refurbish that building at some point in time. And I just, you know, so I don't know how many you need, how many you can store, what you know.
Many more than just the one that we have here budgeted for.
On this budget.
Yeah. The appropriate way to store plans is flat, so they're laid out and they're not creased and not damaged every time you take them out.
Okay. Those are the only questions I have on this general administration budget.
David, would these be, just talking, hanging ones like they use in the building inspector's office? You kind of open up the door, they kind of hang, you kind of pull them out, do they hang in there?
This is actually...
Because David, I've sat in your office, we've had numerous conversations, I've looked around in your office. It's one big rolled-up map.
Yeah. No, these are actually flat files. There's probably 5 or 6 drawers in each, and you could probably fit 100 plans in each drawer. So, and you just pull them out vertically, or horizontally, excuse me.
We'll clamp your office?
Yes.
There you go.
Well, the plan room, really. My office is fairly organized.
Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Dave, one of the things that you put in here for recent accomplishments, it's the last bullet, is you issued 225 road opening permits. How much do we charge for those?
Depends on what the work is that's proposed. If it's a new water or sewer connection, then it's a $500 fee. If it's the repair or replacement of an existing, then it's only $200. And then any utility that comes in, gas, electric, Verizon, phone, telecommunication would be a $500 fee.
Okay. Who sets those fees?
I believe by ordinance.
They're established by, so they can only change to the city council then, for that, okay. Outside of the road opening permits, what other type of permits fall under your office, your administration?
Well, the drainage alteration permit is one. Trying to think of others. Yeah, curb cut permits where you relocate driveway openings in the roadway, or sidewalk opening permits. We have temporary use of fire hydrants that are used by contractors for demolition of a building, for dust control, things like that.
Do the fees for those permits, including the ones for the road opening permits, do those go into the general fund? Or do we have an enterprise fund that those fees go into?
They're all general fund.
I believe it's all general fund.
It's all general
right?
fund.
Yeah.
It's a general
Lights
fund.
and the permits, yeah.
Okay, all right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, I did, Mr. Chairman, through you, thank you. Dave, on the sewer engineer expenses, about halfway down, pumping station operation and maintenance, it just looks like a 109, and I just wonder if you can explain why the spike, it's gone, it started at,
I think you jumped ahead,
We jumped
Counselor.
ahead, Council, we're in
Oh, I'm
general,
sorry.
we're in general admission first, we'll take them one at a time. No, that's okay. It's a valid question, but
I'll get to it, next.
we'll get to it in a second.
I'm just a little ahead.
Any further discussions on section 8-254, which is the engineering personnel and engineering / expenses? Council, please.
There's no further discussion. Make a motion to approve engineer general administration personnel line item in the amount of $72,320.
Seconded.
Councilor Prevey moves to approve engineering personnel in the amount of $72,320, seconded by Councilor Ronan. All those in favor? All those opposed? Councilor Prevey.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of engineer non-personnel expenses in the amount of $5,750.
Councilor Prevey moves to approve engineering expenses in the amount of $5,750, seconded by
Second.
Councilor Pinto. Thank you. All's in favor? All's opposed? Councilor Prevey.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the department total in the amount of $78,070.
Councilor Prevey moves for the approval of the department total in the amount of $78,070, seconded by Councilor Ronan. Thank you. All those in favor? All those opposed? Sewer enterprise. Dave, Mr. Knowlton, would you care to just talk about this a little bit, or you just want us to go through it, or?
I think I can anticipate Councilor Pinto's question. There are 4 large items in the expense portion of this budget, both on the water and the sewer side,
Take the sewer side first.
that do tend to fluctuate from year to year. And it's the electricity line, pump station O&M, pump station supplies, and then the system improvements. The first 3 items that I listed obviously are related to the pumping of either clean drinking water or wastewater. And the costs of those lines are related to fuel costs, power costs, the type of precipitation, whether we have a rainy spring, dry spring, rainy summer, that type of thing, how much water is being used by folks, how much water, extraneous water is getting into our sewer system that's being pumped. So it's kind of hard to understand and look at those numbers, both in the water and the sewer enterprise separately. So what I've done is I've put together a sheet for you that combines the two, and I'm hoping that it makes a little bit more sense to you. Give me a second to take a look at them. These aren't new numbers, these are all numbers that are in your packet for the budget.
Rich Kavanaugh, please. No, it's okay.
Forgot about
Right
it,
there.
that's all right. No problem.
So what I'm showing here is those 4 items that I talked about, and then in columns, 2001 is the actual spent for that fiscal year. The 2011 budget is what was budgeted. There was adjustments made in 2011, this past fiscal year. What those adjustments were, that's the 4th column. and then what the 2012 requested budget is. So if you put them together, you see that total for electricity in 2010 that was spent was $242,000. Budgeted in 2011 was $277,000, but the actual adjusted budget was, cost was $234,000. And we're requesting, if you go to the last column, we're requesting $236,000 at this point in time. If you look at the same thing for pump station O&M, 2010 was $145,000, call it. We actually spent or adjusted $130,000 for last year, and we're requesting $150,000 this year. Pump station supplies, you could see just over $26,000 was spent in 2010. The adjusted budget in this year was $25,000, and we're asking for $30,000 this year. And then system improvements are a little bit different. These are smaller improvements that we make through the year. We have emergency and on-call contractors that we utilize to go out and make quick repairs, quick fixes to both the water system and the sewer system. That has ranged quite a bit, from 29, 25 up to 32, but we're asking for 25 this year just for sewer, and no improvements for the water system at this point in time. So I hope this kind of gives you a sense of, yeah, the numbers per the lines change a little bit based on the different factors that are inherent with sewer and water generation. But if you look at the overall costs at the bottom, the bold lines, the numbers are fairly consistent over the years, 443, 421, 441. So hopefully that clears up a little bit of the...
Mr. Nolan, first of all, thank you for this, because that circumvents a whole ton of questions, I think, but I'm sure there's a few more. Councilor Pinto, then Councilor Rona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dave, when you said it depends like on the rain and what we get, when you said fuel, is that the fuel surcharge in the electricity line, or is that for generators that we have at these stations?
Both. Fuel affects everything. It affects our contractor who, has to respond to emergency situations.
Okay.
It affects the power that we pay for, the fuel that we put in the generators, things like that, everything.
So if we have a rainy spring, we actually are gonna, those stations are gonna work more, they're gonna be pumping more.
Right.
So it's weather related, the expenses.
On the wastewater side, yeah, the stations are gonna work more. On the water side, probably not so much. You're not gonna get the outside water use for watering lawns, things like that.
Do all our stations have generators, Dave?
Yes. Except two of the smaller ones.
Gasoline or diesel?
One is gas, and the rest are diesel.
Thank you. All set, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dave. That made it a lot simpler.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you. Dave, I do have some questions about the water end. You sort of can't talk about one without the other, I understand. So I'll talk about some numbers we have on your new sheet. I want to talk specifically about the pump station supply line. What you don't have on your sheet is year-to-date expenses. I'm looking as of May 25th, 2011. I see that $6,000 approximately was spent this year out of sewer, and about $9,000 out of water, for a total of about $15,000. And we're allocating $15,000 out of each account. So my question is whether or not we couldn't save $5,000 out of each account, still be safe. This is for pump station supplies.
Yeah, we've spent 94% of that to date. We've spent $9,300 of the $10,000. We have $669 available at this point.
Where are you looking at?
Pump station supplies, $10,000.
Okay.
Rich has an updated
Yeah.
year-to-date tally, so there were probably expenditures that came in after, I think, did you say that was dated May 21st?
This is
Counselor?
May 25th,
Yeah,
right?
So
I got
there may have
the,
been
June
invoices
17th
paid.
is, again, 61, I'm sorry, 669 available, 9,300 spent. 93.3% expended.
Okay.
Matter of fact, the whole.
So what is the total spent now out of water and sewer on the pump station supplies?
We're only talking about the sewer side, so if we could limit the discussion.
Well, no, you really can't.
Well, I
I mean,
know-
that's why he's given us both at the same time, because
No, he gave that
basically,
as an overview, but we specifically, we're looking at one right now. You could reference sewer expenses first, 'cause that's what part of the budget we're looking at. He gave this as an overview, so we didn't have crossover questions.
no, Mr. Chairman, with respect to the water and sewer expenses, what they do is, the expense comes in and then they allocate them between the water and sewer. So we have to know what the total cost was for the pumping station supplies, so that we can intellectually talk about what the budget ought to be. Understanding that the budget's gonna be split between the water and sewer side. But if we
Counselor, I
don't,
understand the budget and I understand how it works.
okay, so my
And-
question is what the pump station, supplies, what the total was, spent to date. And then you tried to limit me to what was allocated. It doesn't really matter what was allocated. What really matters is what was spent on the pump station supplies.
You would like because right now, we are currently reviewing the sewer portion of this. The city engineer has given us in anticipation of the ebb and flow of how the money goes between the two. He put this on a nice little spreadsheet for us so we'd understand it. But right now, with regard to sewer engineering expenses, for general purposes, if you want to discuss what the over total is,
That's what I
that's
do.
fine, but when you get down to talking specifics of sewer or water, we're currently in the sewer portion of it. That's all I'm trying to, make sure you stay on point.
Yeah, no, I am. I just want to see what the year-to-date.
I'm sorry, I have the sewer, I don't have the water, so we're trying to pull it up right now.
Okay, so I want to know what the year-to-date pump station supplies has been, total, so that we know.
So for reference, we're in
We're in the sewer department,
Right.
line 5445.
On line 5445, Rich, did you say that was 95% depleted at this point?
Yeah.
It's, you know,
9,000 something.
but it doesn't matter, you know, you got to see where it is total, because it's, you know, it's essentially, it's an exercise in allocating the expense between one and the other.
Yes, Counsel, I would agree. And we are having an intellectual conversation, and yes, it is a math problem. You add the two to get the total, I understand that.
Yeah, there's, 12,000 available in the pump station sewer line right now.
12,000 available.
Come in from the water.
Okay. So I would, with knowing that now, we know there's $12,000 available there, I would not increase the aggregate budget's amounts from the year before. So essentially what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move to reduce that line item by $5,000 so that we get in aggregate the same amount that we allocated last year.
Counselor, prior to making that motion, there is some explanation that Doug can offer, Dave can offer
Transfer
as to.
7,000 in though, so it's 15.
Was that the most
Transfer
recent?
seven.
I think that was a little while ago. We are anticipating
Nolan.
transferring some money out of that to cover some water system improvements. So that money, most of that money is planned to be spent out of the 12,000.
But let me give you a little history. There was 15,000 appropriated as part of the original budget. There's been a transfer into the department of 7,000, so there's 12,000 left on $22,000. I know $7,000 of it was transferred for a specific item that may or may not have been spent at this point, but we're going off an adjusted budget of 22,000, so 12,000 is 12,000 of 22,000, not 12,000 of 15,000. If you understand what I mean. It's 15,000 originally, and we transferred in 7,000 from the electricity pump station account so that there can be some additional supplies purchased. So the adjusted budget is $22,000, and there's $12,000 available, which I believe Dave can explain on what that's gonna be used for.
Yeah.
Okay, my other question to you is, outside of these three main areas that you've highlighted, and that is the photocopy machine. The expenses are coming in at $3,000, which is allocated half to, $3,000 to sewer, $3,000 to water, and you list that as a, for a copy machine.
That's a photocopier scanner machine, and that's on the 4th floor. It's in the common area outside both the Health Department, Human Resources, and Engineering. So that, we pay for the lease of the machine.
Okay, the machine that as I walk into, like if I'm walking into Human Resources, is the one on the right?
The one on the right, yes.
Right there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna just tell you, frankly, I think that's an outrageous amount, $500 a month to pay for that copy machine? And you can lease a Mercedes-Benz for $500 a month.
But it can't make a copy.
Well, no, but you could, no, you could drive it home, and you could sell it and buy about 3 copy machines. $500 a month for that copy machine? And that's all it does, it copies, it's not a...
No, it scans, and it's an actual color scanner as well, so it's a document management tool for us and for the other
Is that an estimate,
departments.
or is that our actual lease we're paying
That's an
$500?
That's about what we've been paying, and that was another item that was originally budgeted under other in past years, and it was broken out this year as a specific line item.
Okay, we're overpaying substantially
went-
for the lease of that
Well,
copy
we've
machine.
actually, we did that, we did take a look at it several years ago, we had a contract, and then we renegotiated that recently because the number of copies we were making was higher than we originally anticipated. We
No.
can certainly take another look at it.
A lot of the, I'm sorry, but a lot of the copying machine isn't necessarily the cost of the machine, it's the amount of images you're producing per
Exactly.
month. So the machine itself may not be $500, but it goes by a counter and how many people and how many copies are used per month, so just.
Well, a lease goes anyway, but typically an office copier, you'd lease the copy machine, with the copy machine comes a maintenance contract and the toner, and any,
I believe this does come with the toner, the maintenance, and enough overages to cover the amount of documents that are produced
I
up
mean,
there.
and for,
And most
for-
of these are off the state bid list, to be quite honest. I mean, we get these prices off the state bid list. Copy is not subject to, I mean, we're not, we can't go outside of 30B, so a lot of times when we lease these machines, they come right off the state bid list for the price, and it's not as if we go out and, we get the highest priced machine. We go right off the state bid list for most of
No,
these
but,
copies.
what we're being asked to approve is $6,000 a year for the lease of a copy machine. The copy machine that, I mean, it's not even the Cadillac of a copy machine, I know.
Yeah, the one in the clerk's office is around the same amount, I know. They're not cheap.
No further questions, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Council Pinto.
Motion to approve sewer and Janelle personnel for $178,687.
Council Pinto moves to approve sewer engineer personnel in the amount of $178,687.
Second.
Seconded by Council Fury. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, all those opposed?
Mr. Chairman?
That matter carries. Council Rona.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve sewer engineering expenses in the amount of $182,200. And the reason for that is what we've seen is the aggregate amount that we're spending for the pump station supplies should leave us safely $5,000 under what is appropriated out of both budgets. So I would make a motion that we take it here out of the sewer budget. Take 5,000 out.
Motion by Council Rowan to decrease the amount of the sewer engineer expenses by $5,000, resulting in an appropriation of $185,200.
No, $182,000.
Excuse me, $182,200, sorry. $182,200.
Under discussion, Mr.
Under
President?
discussion.
Thank you,
Council
Mr.
Pinto.
President. Dave, would you be comfortable with that? Dave and Rich?
We cut at $10,000 from what was originally asked, so I think a 40% reduction on what the department had asked is, that's where we're starting from, so I don't know, I won't speak for Dave, but, I feel comfortable with the 15,000, that's why we recommended it. I don't think we should go less. I believe that these numbers reflect what's gonna be spent in the history of what's being spent. And again, I think the $12,000 here is a little bit of aberration because of the fact that we transferred some money in, and I know that money is being used for a specific purpose that hasn't been accounted for as of the day of this report. But I'll defer to Dave to answer a little more on that.
I think if we're somewhere near that 441,000 that we've asked for, that's identified in the spreadsheet that I gave you, for all of these, I think we're going to be comfortable. There's ways to come back and ask for additional money from retained earnings if that's necessary. But I think that's the target number would be the 441, which would include the 5,000 in it.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Council Ronan?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to point out to members of the committee that basically what I'm asking to do is level fund this from last year. I mean, last year it was funded at $10,000, adjusted to $10,000. So essentially, all I'm asking to do is level fund that amount. And seeing that there is money left in the aggregate there, it seems to be a reasonable cut to make.
Just to be clear, we don't expect a balance in that account, Counselor. I know as of this date, you're seeing some revenues, but that money was transferred in to buy specific items. That account will be fully expended by the end of the fiscal year. That's the anticipation. I mean, we have an aging, water and sewer infrastructure system, and this is one area that we've tried to stay on top of it as best we can. I've been in a house where we had a sewer backup when our pump station operator, didn't exactly do everything they needed to do. We also have backup sometimes because valves fail and it's an aging system. And I'm certainly not suggesting that's what's gonna happen by a cut of 5,000. I think we're relying on the professionals that we have to come up with estimates for what it costs to run those systems. We'd prefer not to come back and ask for funding and try and manage whatever the number of breaks are that we have. There are occasions that we do, but this is what we think we're gonna need to manage the number of pump stations, the contracts that we have, the aging system that's currently in place, and hope you'll support it, but I think it's worthwhile.
Yeah. Just, if I may,
Council Ronan?
the budget for 2011 was 10 out of sewer, 15, out of the water. And I understand there's some left. All I'm asking to do is now, and this year, they're asking us to increase that line item by $5,000. So anyway, that's where the 5,000 comes from. I think it's a reasonable cut to make. Certainly, they can make it up. They should be able to make it up on the cost of the copy machine.
Under discussion, I would like just to echo what Mr. Knowlton just said. It isn't about the specific line item, because we can make a recommendation to reduce the line item by $5,000. What Mr. Knowlton is looking for is the total of 441. That's what he feels that he needs to move forward. Our recommendation to cut that line item by $5,000 doesn't mean they're not going to expend $15,000 in that line item. That means he has $5,000 less to work with within his budget. This budget is just an interpretation of how he anticipates his ebb and flow of expenses to go through the course of the year. So by decreasing the amount by $5,000, if you may specifically look at that one line item for the year, Mr. Knowlton is more concerned about the total, because as you can see from the history of this water and sewer budget history that he gave us, it ebbs and flows back and forth between both sides. So I leave it into the good hands of Mr. Knowlton to manage his department and his budget, so I will not support the reduction. That being said, there's a motion on the floor by Councilor Ronan to reduce the sewer engineer expenses by the amount of $5,000, resulting in a total for expenses in the amount of $182,200.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Prevey. All's in favor? All's opposed? Opposed. The matter does not carry. Councilor Pinto, please.
Motion to approve sewer engineer expenses for $187,200.
Councilor Pinto moves to approve sewer engineering expenses in the amount of $187,200, seconded by Counselor Fury, all those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed?
Counselor Pinto.
Motion to approve, sewer engineer department total, $365,887.
Counselor Pinto moves to approve department total in the amount of $365,887. Seconded by Counselor Fury, all those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposed.
You just keep going, Mr. Nolan. Water, the reverse of sewer, we got water.
Clean stuff. I think I've given you, I hope, the information that you need to understand where we are with the budget, but certainly can answer any more questions you may have.
Mr. Chairman?
Counselor Roner.
Yeah, through you. Dave, the only problem I have here, again, is on this copy machine. This is the second half of that, you know? There's $3,000 coming out of sewer expenses for this lease of the copy machine, and $3,000 coming out of here, out of water for this copy machine. I hope we get a grip on that. Actually, I'll make a motion to reduce the water engineering expenses by $1,500 to see if you can get a grip on it. Second.
Counselor Roner moves to reduce, it's line item, photocopy machine 5277 by the amount of $1,500.
You wanna take up personnel first, though?
I'll just see if he has a second, then we'll take up personnel. Seeing none. Any further discussion on the total of water engineering personnel and expenses? Seeing none, Council Privy.
Make a motion to approve water engineer personnel line item in the amount of $178,687.
Council Privy moves to approve water engineering personnel in the amount of $178,687, seconded by Council Fury. All those in favor, all those opposed. Council Privy.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve water engineer non-personnel expenses in the amount of $348,845.
Council Privy moves to approve water engineering expenses in the amount of $348,845, seconded by Councilor Fury. Under discussion, Councilor Ronan.
Yeah, I just wanted to say this before my time passes. And I'm sure this is, Rich, this is something that you've looked at. I think that this budget should be consolidated with Public Services Water Enterprise Fund, you know, and I'm sure that you don't do that because of the, sort of the, you know, the pyramid who people answer to. But it would make things easier, I would think, if the Water Enterprise Fund was sort of, you know, sort of had its own department, you know, especially for the.
Yeah, I agree, but we have, we kind of have it run by two department heads, so that's the purpose, because Dave handles a lot of the engineering portions of it, and Rick handles more of the public services, so, I mean, we could do it, it's just a matter, really what it comes down to is, this is done in a manner like this because Dave has his administrative personnel that control his side of the budget, and Rick Renard's is down a whole different building and has his secretary and personnel handle his side, so I think, I'd love to see it in one budget myself, but it's a matter of who's gonna own the entire water, sewer, enterprise fund budget. If you do that, I don't know if I have the answer to that.
Yeah, well,
I
especially.
don't know if it's gonna be Dave, I don't know if it would be Rick Renard. I'm sure that, neither one of them are ready to take on full responsibility of this, but I would agree that it would be a little easier to manage and a cleaner process if we had all of this budgeted under one. You gotta remember, we have some of this water and sewer enterprise actually in the treasurer's budget, which we didn't take up on the treasurer's here, so I wanted to also take this opportunity to remind you that we should go back to the treasurers and vote the debt service and stuff that relates to water and sewer enterprise funds as well, but I certainly don't like, every year we try to struggle on the best way to lay this out for the council to make it clear. It's a little cumbersome, I agree, and if there's a way to hire, get someone who's gonna manage the water and sewer enterprise funds as a whole, then that would be the way to do it, but I think that this is what I've inherited since I've been here, and this is the way we've done it, and I don't know that we have the ability to pawn this off on one particular department versus another, or to hire someone who is gonna be exclusively in charge of water and sewer and trash operations of the city.
Well, especially with respect to the expenses, because essentially what you have to do is you have to look, you have to go back and look at the, public services water enterprise fund expenses and weigh them against yours, and you can see that, there's.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah, so anyway, okay, that's just
I
my
agree.
comment just before this
Yep,
passed.
I would welcome having this in one budget to be voted on altogether, but I don't know that it's, in the immediate future, but point taken.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilor Prevey, seconded by Councilor Fury, to approve water engineering expenses in the amount of $348,845. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? All those opposed?
Opposed?
Matter carries.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the department total in the amount of $527,532.
Councilor Prevey moves to approve the department total in the amount of $527,532, seconded by Councilor Fury. All those in favor? All those opposed? Engineering trash,
Solid waste collection.
solid waste collection. Thank you so much.
There's not a lot to this budget. The biggest component is in the expense side, and it's the actual collections contract that we have. And that's gone up just by a multiplier that the city agreed to with the contractor on a yearly basis, so that's what's reflected there. So not a heck of a lot has changed in this other than that. So I'll take any questions that you might have.
Councilor Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I don't know if this is for you, Dave, or Julie, but on the recent accomplishments on page, section 8, 272, the second dot, whatever, it just says, on the second line, it says 26% reduction in solid waste from the start of the contract and a corresponding 4% increase in recycling tonnage from calendar year 2009-2010. So basically, this tells me that the contractor that picks up our solid waste has picked up 26% less than the year before, is that correct?
Correct.
So-
For 2 years before, for the contract started 2 years ago, what he picked up last year was 26% reduction.
Right. Do we get reimbursed for him picking up less, because the people are limited as to what they can throw?
No, it's a solid, it's Rich Cone-
Yeah, the RFP was structured in a way that the contractors knew that we placed a 3-barrel maximum.
Right.
And I think that's what's driving the reduction, and they bid their prices based upon that. Now, I don't know if they knew it was gonna be a 26% reduction overall, but I think the 26% reduction in solid waste is a direct correlation to the 3-barrel limit. We specifically chose not to do a per ton and do a flat rate because, in my opinion, it's easier to budget, and it's, quite frankly, it's better accountability. I think the onus is now on the collection, the trash collector, to make sure that tonnage stays low, whereas if we're paying per ton, some trash may end up in that dumping that may or may not be Salem, to be quite honest, and I feel like it's better accountability to pay a flat rate and have them manage the tonnage that they're dumping as opposed to us.
So if the percentage went up, if they were taking more, that would
If
be
it so
because-
happened that it was only a 15% reduction, they'd eat it, because we have a flat rate no matter what. I mean, this was a tricky one. It was very, It was a long process to try to come up with ways to reduce the dollars we're spending on solid waste, and we had a pretty diverse committee going over all the pros and cons, and, I mean, I was an advocate of a flat rate. Others thought it was better to pay per ton because there is a potential of saving more dollars if you get more recycling and less tonnage, but on the other end, there's also an opportunity that you may be sadly mistaken and end up paying more than what you budgeted, and you have to come back in. So with this particular thing, I like the cost certainty of the flat rate, and I like the burden to be on the collection agency to make sure that they're within their own budgets and their own tonnage, and they police their own amount of trash they pick up, or, you know, how many matches they might pick up along a road or what have you. That's not for us to deal with. It would cost him if he's picking up more trash than it would cost us.
How about the recycling, Rich? It's gone up 4%. How does that affect us? Does it affect us at all?
It doesn't affect us. I mean, we get paid for paper, so the increase in paper tonnage would be helpful. I know that we went from every other week recycling to weekly recycling, which certainly brought up the amount. I mean, I know Julie's involved with that much more than I am, but I know that one of the key components of doing this new contract was getting a weekly recycling collection throughout the city, and that certainly must help get those numbers up.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. All set, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, through you, I really have two areas that I want to talk about. The first is the accounting and auditing figure, $2,500. It says contracted through the finance department.
It's just in a portion, we apportion out the cost of doing the financial audit of the city, and the enterprise funds pick up a portion of the total cost of the yearly audit.
What is the total cost of the yearly audit?
It's about $65,000 a year.
Okay, and this is their
Yeah, the water, sewer pick up a portion of it, I believe. The North Shore workforce picks up a portion of it, so we apportion that out, and, because the audit encompasses the whole city operations, including enterprise funds, including the North Shore Workforce Investment Board as well.
Okay, but we don't list that under contracted services.
We listed
Is it
under,
listed anywhere under contracted services?
what?
That annual audit that we,
It's listed in several budgets. It's listed in, I think the lion's share of it is listed under the mayor's expense line.
under the mayor's, okay. And what other budgets is it in?
I think it portions in water and sewer.
Yeah, we have 5305 in the water and sewer department accounting and audit as well, so it's apportioned out. Like I said, the lion's share of it's in the mayor's budget, but there are portions of it that are picked up by the enterprise accounts, and we are also the lead community for the North Shore Workforce Investment Board, and they pick up a portion of it as well.
Okay, now, this is something, Dave and Rich, I guess, either of you can address, but I see when you divide up all these expenses and you have multiple expense lines in different budgets, I think sometimes you wind up over apportioning money. I'm taking a look now at the educational and training expense. Obviously, this is in the trash enterprise expenses, and it looks like it's only $2,000, but there are only 3 employees, and they're the same employees that are listed, in other departments. For instance, water, set aside $2,500 for education and training. Sewer set aside $4,500 for education and training, and then there's $2,000 here for education and training. So there's $9,000 for education and training, and in this budget, you only have 3 employees.
Well, a large component of that line is for munis assistance. We have a consultant.
It is in all the others as well. The whole 9,000 comes out of, for munis training. You know, you gotta go from one budget item to the other budget to the other budget item.
Yeah, an average day of Munis training is anywhere between $800 and $1,000, so, it doesn't go very far. I don't know how else to explain it, but if we got a Munis consultant in here for a day to do some training, to do some programming, whether it's because we are upgrading our water meters, or we're upgrading the billing system, or there's been, any myriad of changes or reports we wanna run, it costs us around $800 to $1,000 a day to get a specialist down here and train. I know that there, Julie does use, a non-Munis person who knows Munis very well, and I think the rates are slightly better, but simple fact of the matter is that when you get these professionals to come in and do this training, you're talking anywhere from $75 to $125 an hour, and, there's just no getting around that. I mean, you get what you pay for with a lot of this stuff, and trust me, if there's a Munis trainer out there that's gonna work for $40 an hour, then give them our number and bring them down.
Yeah, but I understand these expenses are, I mean, here's this three people in this department here, but essentially you're spreading the cost of Munis training.
Well, it's specific. I mean, we have a utility billing module that deals with water, that deals with sewer, that deals with trash. We have an accounts payable module. We have a collections module. We have a tax title module. We have a HR module. We have a payroll module. We have a GL module. So Munis isn't just one system. It's a full complement of accounting software and management
Well, do
software.
you know total what we're paying for education and training through Munis in 2012, this budget?
Off the top of my head, I don't. I'd just add up the amounts, but again,
Because
when you
I'm-
talk of training, you talk of, I want people to get training, I want people to do a good job. We could strip these down and have no dollars, and then we have no money for training, and then we have people who aren't gonna excel and be able to do their job the best of their ability. So
Well, no, but
I encourage the training dollars. I actually work hard to get the dollars put back in there, and I encourage the people to spend it when they have it. I don't like to put money in training budgets and have it turned back, because A, I know it won't get funded the next year, and B, I know that the people aren't getting the training they need to do their best job. So I'm an advocate of training, and I think we need $5,000, quite honestly. I would rather have much more money in training.
Well,
It's a philosophy that I like.
you have $9,000 in training total in this budget in the sewer, water, and trash. My only point is, everybody that's listed here as, you know, essentially, you know, what we do is we apportion people's salary, you know, so much is paid by sewer, so much is paid by water, so much is paid by trash. So these people, I think, all come under either water, sewer, or both. So they're getting education and training under those, you know,
Right, I guess
under those other budgets, and we're adding it here, you know, I'm just kicking the
I got-
tires around to see whether or not there's any savings to be had.
No, I understand what you're getting at, but in that respect, I would just take the 2,000 and 3,000, 3,000, and I'd put $8,000 in one account, and you'd apportion it out the same way. I mean, there's always a debate whether it makes more sense to take all the money, put it in one pot, and have everyone draw off that pot of money, or to give the dollars to the specific departments and have them manage those dollars. There's pros and cons to both. I like to give the departments the money for them to manage, because I feel like if it's in one pot of money, then people will go and spend it without much conscientious of how much is left and how much they need to go. So I think that, for instance, if you get a big money office supplies, a lot of people will be ordering office supplies a lot because they don't know when the end is near, and they'll get what they need. But if you give those departments those specific amount of dollars in their budgets, I think they manage them and spend them to the best of what they need. So I think it can be argued both ways. The way I like to see it is I like to give the trash and the enterprise funds their specific allotment of what we think is reasonable or affordable for them to get the training. But I don't think that if you got all these and put them in a pool and then cut it by 30%, we'd save a lot of money, because again, the training costs what it costs, and there's only so many days you get out of $2,000. I mean, again, it was 3,000, we cut it to 2,000. I'd like to see it higher, but there's a reality here, and you know, we do like to present balanced budgets that are as frugal as possible, but we also want to have the departments have the means to do their jobs and do their jobs well. And that's why the money's there, Counselor.
Thank you.
I understand what you're saying, and I think it's one of those kind of chicken or the egg debates. Is it better putting it all in one pot and letting people divvy it up that way, or give it to the departments in their specific budget so they can manage it and to the best of their ability and the best of their know-how.
Make a motion if there's no more questions, Mr. Chairman.
Counsel Pinto.
Thank you. Motion to approve trash enterprise personnel for the sum of $32,990.
Counsel Pinto moves to approve trash enterprise personnel in the amount of $32,990. Seconded by Counsel Prevey. All's in favor, all's opposed. Counsel Pinto.
Motion to approve trash enterprise expenses for the sum of $2,706,991.
Counsel Pinto moves to approve trash enterprise expenses in the amount of $2,706,991. Seconded by Counsel Prevey. All those in favor, all those opposed. Counsel Pinto.
Motion to approve trash enterprise department total, $2,739,981.
Counsel Pinto moves to approve department total in the amount of $2,739,981, seconded by Counsel Prevey. All those in favor, all those opposed.
Motion to adjourn.
Hold on,
Oh,
oh, we can't take that motion yet.
okay.
Yeah,
There's, what,
There's
Nina,
two-
what, there's only, other than the school department, what's left?
there's transfers out too. There's the transfers for the capital account and the stabilization account. So there's a couple of matters. Last is the schools,
Schools
but there's
is
also
tomorrow.
the treasurer's portion of the debt for the water and sewer enterprise. And there's also that transfer out to the accounts for retirement stabilization, capital improvement, and what's the third one? Oh, and well, you'll probably take it up with the schools, but there's a transfer out for the charter school.
So,
What tab is that, Nina? 29.
so we could take 29 up at the schools tomorrow? So the last thing is the, I know we talked about this, we want, in the treasurer's line item,
Yeah, these are, I mean,
in the
I think these are
treasurer's
pretty straightforward, but
tab 10.
basically, it's mostly the debt service and the assessments, and the insurance deductibles for the water and sewer enterprise funds.
So the section 8-92,
Yes.
just debt service. There's 3 of these, I believe.
Yeah, that reflects exactly the principal and interest due on the debt service for the sewer enterprise fund. Again, that interest-only payments were made through 2011. We sold our long-term bonds in October of 2010, and the first interest and principal payments are due on that debt service beginning in fiscal year 2012.
So, Rich, there's no, the short-term debt got rolled over into something?
Yeah, short-term debt got turned into long-term bonds.
So do we have to approve these
Individually.
department by department?
We put all the debt in the treasurer's budget, and again, these are the actual numbers that come right off our debt service schedule. Even if these were cut, they'd have to be paid and raised on the next year's recap because that's the law, so. But these are the exact numbers of the principal and interest of these particular bonds that were sold in October.
Council Ronan.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve sewer debt service. Do we have to do
I think it's just department total.
department totals in the amount of $166,125?
Council Ronan moves to approve sewer debt service department total in the amount of $166,125.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Prevey. All in favor? All opposed?
I don't think, Mr. Chairman, I don't think we need to approve any
We don't have to do.
short-term debt, because there
No.
isn't any.
There isn't any.
I would move that we approve the sewer assessment department total in the amount of $6,140,989.
Council Ronan moves to approve sewer assessment debt sewer assessment department total in the amount of $6,140,989, seconded by Counselor Fury. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Just briefly, insurance deductible is $2,500 per claim. This amount would give us the amount to pay 2 full deductibles.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve sewer enterprise fund insurance deductible department totals in the amount of $5,000.
Counselor Ronan moves to approve sewer enterprise fund insurance deductible in the amount of, in the department total in the amount of $5,000, seconded by Counselor Pinto. All those in favor? All those opposed? Water enterprise next, Ian?
Yeah, water debt service, 8-98.
8-98, yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Counselor Ronan.
I would move that we approve water debt service department totals of $1,130,050.
Counselor Ronan moves to approve water debt service department total in the amount of $1,130,050, seconded by Counselor Pinto. All those in favor? All those opposed? Next one we don't have to do is zeroed out. Counselor Ronan.
I would move that we approve the water assessments department total of $2,403,095.
Counselor Ronan moves to approve water assessment department total in the amount of $2,403,095, seconded by Counselor Pinto. All those in favor? All those opposed? Counselor Ronan.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve water enterprise fund insurance deductible department totals in the amount of $2,500.
Counselor Ronan moves to approve water enterprise fund insurance deductible department total in the amount of $2,500, seconded by Counselor Pinto. All those in favor? All those opposed?
To adjourn?
Yeah, and you do the transfers with the school?
Yes.
All right.
For the record, that other than the school department,
School department, and then the tab 29, which is, a portion of it is the schools, 764,000, and then the two other,
tabs 28 and 29.
the other 2 transfers, I'll transfer to retirement stabilization of 400,000, transfer to the CIP fund of 200,000, and then transfer to the charter schools, 764,000. But that's all in one budget. If you want to take that up tomorrow with the schools, take that up tomorrow.
Take it up tomorrow. So that's tabs 28 and 29. Nina, other than that, all the tabs are clear? I just want to take this moment to thank the Finance Committee. Unfortunately, because of the employment of my wife and my sister-in-law in the school department, I will be unable to attend tomorrow's debate with regard to the school, and Councilor Prevey will be, the former chair of A&F, will be heading up to the meeting tomorrow. So thank you for all your hard work, and at this time I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Councilor Ronan moves to adjourn. All those in favor, all those opposed? Thank you.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Good job.